comedy.
Just be like, hey, we got a real comedian. We're gonna talk about comedy.
Cool.
Hey, everybody, what's
up?
Hi.
Hi. Hello.
Pleasure.
Ooh, there we go. Thank you. What is up, everyone? Welcome to the pre-show for the GameOverGreggy show. I am neither game nor over nor Greggy.
No,
neither of us are.
That's such a good thing, and I feel like
I like.
lost it.
I like what your hair's doing right now.
My hair?
Yeah,
it's
got a little fun going on up top.
I keep going as it starts to leave me more, as it starts to recede more. I keep. You want to bring your chair up just a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
I feel like you're taller than me, but everyone doesn't know that.
I look like the little kid.
You do.
These are my two dads.
There you go.
Boom.
Okay, there
Yeah.
you go. Perfect.
Fuck if I know.
222.
69, 69. No, as my hair starts to go, Tim, I just start, I get my guy Roberto to just cut it shorter and shorter.
Your guy emailed me this morning.
Did he?
Yeah,
Did he really?
Not your guy, but the People's Barber.
People's Barber?
Emailed me today.
Yeah.
Like, we haven't seen you in 6 months. I'm like, that's not true.
You're like, you fucked it up last
haven't
time.
seen
That's
me in-
why. See, you don't have the beard yet, but once
that's
you have
good
the beard,
stuff.
yeah, is it
Yeah.
good?
Yeah, I would grow. I've grown a beard out before. The real issue is that there's two things that play against the beard for me. One is that there's more gray hair in there, and I just
distinguished.
I don't need to have a salt. It's not distinguished for me because my face still looks like Topher Grace when he was 11. You know,
That's great,
so it just looks weird with like gray hair. And then the other part of it is I really do enjoy, and I'm not working at the place in the mall. I enjoy the art of shaving. I actually enjoy. I get the brush.
Yeah.
Oh, you
And
do
I
the old
brush-
school
in.
shit.
Oh, but before I brush, gentlemen, I do the pre-shave oil. None of this shit actually does anything.
No, it
but
makes you feel
It makes you
good.
feel like you're
Yeah,
doing a
I'm
thing.
like-
DollarShaveClub.com.
Every time I do
love
this,
it.
I'm like, my grandpa's got to be so proud of me in
Yeah.
heaven. And then I take the brush and I do all that thing, and then I do it, and I take my time doing it. You know, this is what men do. Then I get and then I like do the post treatment and stuff, and it feels fantastic.
Now my thing is,
And I don't get the red bumps anymore.
you could. Well, see, I
That's
used to
key.
always get those. That's why I stopped shaving.
I learned how to shave with the grain.
no.
I'll never
literally
understand
easy.
that.
It wouldn't matter for
Disaster.
me. I would have to shave. You know, you'd shave. I would do the bare minimum of. I would go the max days that I could possibly go before people were like, "You're looking like a
this is a
fucking
problem."
bum right now."
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I hate shaving. And the thing you're describing though, you can still get if you have a beard. You just gotta have a beard guy. Now my beard guy fucking hooks it up. The other day he gave me a massage. Like I had my hair and beard
On
cut.
your beard?
No, face. Like boom, face. Like hot towel massage face.
They do that at the sport clips.
Oh god, it's fantastic. What's a sport clip? Is that like a supercuts?
You know what a sport clip? It's
No.
it's haircuts for guys. Get this, you walk in there and it's like a supercuts or the hair cuttery on the East Coast, but they have like lockers. And they have like ESPN on everywhere.
yeah.
It's like, hey, this is where dudes go to hang out. And what they do is afterwards they put you in like the chair and they like wash your hair.
Yeah.
Then they put a hot towel over you.
that's so
and
nice.
all I can think of is how many fucking faces has this towel been on?
No, they
before
won't.
my
That is a solid
shit.
point. They do that supercuts too, and I don't trust it. I don't trust it at all. Yeah, the thing with these mics, you got to get up on
Yeah,
them.
Oh, yeah,
unfortunately,
I'll
we
make
have
love to the mic.
we have a pretty intense compressor back there. So if you're a little ways away, it'll clip your face.
Yeah. I'm in.
No, it's funny because my wife had never been to the place I get my hair cut. And this place literally is one of those hipster places where you walk in and they offer you an IPA or a cup of coffee or like a glass of whiskey, like a good scotch or something
Gentlemen's.
like that.
Yeah.
And I never really... It didn't really occur to me that this was the environment they were creating until, you know, have you ever seen, you know that thing where you don't have perspective on something until your significant other walks in and goes, whoa, what the fuck is going on
Yeah.
here? And then all of a sudden you become unbelievably aware of how ridiculous it is.
Well, that's your life in a nutshell.
It is,
And
but-
especially with this, because I guarantee you there's not a single person watching this live or watching it ever that has ever uttered the words beard guy.
Beard guy. You gotta have a beard
You're
guy.
the only person in the world that has a beard guy.
I got a beard guy.
That's a fucking weird thing,
I'm
Nick.
not the only person, and this is my story. Dee walked in. She was in the neighborhood. We had just come back from like doing a little drive. I like to drive, but it doesn't matter. Come back. I'm like, babe, we don't have time. I don't have time to drop you off at the house. You got to come with me, and you just have to go to some of the shops around the neighborhood, around where I get my haircut. She's like, totally fine. I park the car. She's like, bye. See you in a second. Comes in, and as he's taking the towel off, I look over, and she's laughing. And I fucking knew exactly what she was thinking. I've been with my wife for like 10 years. I know exactly what she's thinking. And sure as shit, she was like, it's like an assembly line of you in this place. Every single guy
That's
looks
funny
like
as
a
hell.
different version of you. Some are taller, some are fatter, some have more hair, some have less, but they're all you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm glad you phrased it that way. because that makes them sound like they're trying to be me.
They're trying to be
and
Nick
not that I'm
Scarpino,
trying to be the fucking guy on the wall. That
Right.
it's like 3 haircuts. It's like, you want this haircut, this haircut, this, and it's all the same thing. It's a character creator for video games. By the way, anyone who's asking, this is my good friend Mark Ellis. He is from Collider
everybody.
Video. He hosts Movie Talk and the Schmodown movie trivia
Cheers.
show, which you've seen me on twice, and I will be on a 3rd time. Did I win this time, or
you
did I
win?
not? You got to watch.
You'll
It's the
have to
Patreon
find out.
exclusive. He's got a Patreon. Go over there and support him if you guys want to do that. What is it? Is it patreon.com/the Schmoes?
Yeah, that sounds right. Patreon.com/Schmodown.
Schmodown.
I believe, yeah. There's a whole lot of good tiers. The good news is, even if you don't join the Patreon, which obviously you should because I need to upgrade my beard guy,
Yeah.
is you
get a beard
can
guy.
still watch the match like 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
But if you Patreon, you get it 2 weeks earlier. So.
Now your Patreon, the person who's putting that together is Brienne, Miss Movies.
Miss Movies
Miss
is
Friend herself.
rocking the Patreon, and
Yeah.
she is amazing at it.
Dude, I was there for 1 hour and she put my ass to work.
Yeah.
I walked in and she's like, "You got 5 minutes?" I'm like, "Yeah." Put a fucking postcard in front of my face and was like, "Sign this and write something funny." And I'm like, "All right, go."
All right.
Yeah,
I'm like,
signing
"Sorry, it's
stuff
me,
and
Nick."
I feel
Sorry,
so bad
it's
for
me.
the fans that get my postcard because my handwriting is literally like 3rd grade.
Yeah.
And like if they look up to me, they're gonna be like, who is this? Did he get his nephew to write? This is bad. It doesn't. None of the syntax works. Like there's a lost art form to actually taking your hand and putting a utensil in it and then doing this.
I hate it. I hate having to use a pen. I hated it when I was younger, but I especially hate it now that I would much rather just go like that and have my thoughts go out.
Isn't
there
that crazy?
to the
Like,
world.
you ever actually read the Constitution? Like they were putting words in there that didn't need to be in there just
Yeah.
to show off.
They
And
li-
now we're like, "Okay, bye."
Yeah, we got
Oh,
nothing.
man.
We're trying to
Forever.
boil everything down to one letter if we can that we can text.
We're going back
or
to
DM
hieroglyphics.
to each other. Yeah.
That's where emojis are taking us, kids. Back to ancient Egypt.
Well,
I'm
you
in.
say that people must be disappointed. Imagine your one fan that got my postcard. They were like, "Who the fuck is Nick
Who's
Scarpino?"
Nick?
I put at Nick_Scarpino, so if they were interested, they could go on Twitter and
They'll
find out who I
figure
was.
it out. Yeah.
Because I can't
Smart
imagine
cookies
that
out
any
there.
fan of the Schmodown has me as the top
Collaborating
ranks.
for
One of
Nick
their-
Scarpino.
They
the guy
might
who
after
is-
they see the Patreon match.
It's a good match. It's me versus Josh McCouga.
I got to announce it.
I'll tell you one thing right now. I had a blast there when you guys were had me down. I had a blast on Movie Talk. Had a great time on McCouga's show. And I want to believe
McCouga's
that
the best.
He keeps his living room like that all the time and just sits at his desk and interviews his wife from the couch.
He did. I mean, if you haven't seen this show,
No.
his set it's like a talk show set, like a late night talk show set
Yeah.
in his 2-bedroom apartment, right in the living room. And it used to just be like that all the time before she moved in.
Yeah.
Because I just
It
go over there
happens.
and like have beers, and I just be sitting on the like at the desk.
It's like that episode of Seinfeld where Kramer got the old the
Merv
set, the Merv
Griffin
Griffin
show,
show
yeah,
set,
yeah.
and just put it up in his living room. That's exactly what it like. There's a door in the set, but that's actually his front door.
Mm-hmm.
So when you walk through, you're like, oh, that's okay, we're here. And then he's just got a picture of the LA skyline.
Yeah.
that looks like you're looking out the window, but it's kind of cheesily. It's the best.
That's funny, man.
It's the best. And I
Do you
admit,
want to get this thing going?
yeah, you want to go?
Yeah.
All right,
I feel like
Kev.
we got good
Cool, Greg.
shit
How we
going
looking?
here.
All right, let's get this rolling. Everyone, stick around. Obviously, who is watching live will be back for the post show in about an hour and a half to 2 hours.
I get another beer for the post show. Right?
You get as many beers as you want. That's Cool Greg.
I'm
over
on
there.
vacation.
So if you want anything, just ask Cool Greg. He'll get you a beer. Again,
Love you.
I don't
Cool
know
Greg.
if you've
Thank
noticed
you.
or not, but we are not fans of professionalism here. If you want to just immediately talk to the producer mid-sentence, you can.
You guys are professionally non-professional because it's a very nice setup.
Thank you.
Organized chaos.
We like to.
And yeah.
All right.
Classified entropy.
Yes.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the Game Over Greggy show. Again, I am not Greg Miller. Surprise, I'm much shorter than he is. My name is Nick Scarpino, and I will be running the ship today, or steering the ship, or whatever you do with the ship.
How do ships work?
Who the fuck knows?
What
When's the
type of
last
ship
time
we
you
talking
when's the
about?
last time you piloted a ship?
Never.
Nobody knows.
I'm running this baby right into an iceberg.
There you
Let's
go.
do this.
Let's Titanic the
Let's
shit out
Carnival
of this.
Cruise Lines this.
Oh damn! What was the Italian cruise liner? Wasn't there an Italian one that was like super that was just capsized and everyone's like, "Fucking Italians shouldn't be on boats."
I just just remember the Carnival Cruise Line from a week ago where 23 people, most of them in the same family, got kicked off because of a brawl.
Oh,
They got into
no.
a brawl, and most of them, it's like, is it like two rival families or it's like an extended family?
Some Romeo and Juliet shit
basically
going on?
The best Montague versus Capulet situation of all time. 23 people, so
But
they
when
had
you
to
say
dock.
kicked off the boat,
yeah.
do you mean like walk the plank type shit?
Oh, no, but they should
Because
have
can you
that.
imagine just
no.
one by one just being
Yeah.
like, hey, we're not pulling over. We're all the way out here.
To be perfectly honest, though, the amount of people that go on Carnival cruises, that doesn't surprise me. There's a lot of Italians that go on those, and we're not known to keep our temper to ourselves, so I would not be surprised
They
by
make
that.
the captain like dress up with like a peg leg.
And he's like, you gotta walk the plank.
Make him walk the plank.
Oh God, I'd love it. Of course, too, all the way to my left across the table is the pure one, Tim Gettys.
Latimos.
And a very special guest is joining us today, ladies and gentlemen. If you watched the morning show, you saw him. If you did not, you're missing out because it's really good. Mr. Mark Ellis.
Oh,
is joining
cheers.
us today.
Great having you guys.
He
This is
hosts
a,
Movie Talk down on the Collider Network, as well as the Schmodown Trivia show that you have seen me on a couple times. And did I win? No. But one day I will. The sign of a true winner, as you've often told me, is that you keep losing, but you keep trying.
Failure is a good way
Failure.
to get better, to get closer to winning.
Yes.
I don't know that I've ever
And also,
won
if
any.
you fail enough, you win.
Tim's just
Yeah.
shaking his head at me. Oh my God.
It's been quite a day. Like this,
Yeah.
this is a weird day for Kind of Funny because usually me and Nick are we just can't be separated. Like we're joined at the hip.
We are inseparable.
But today, there's because Greg's not here and how I've had to host there's the game half of the shows and then there's
Right.
the non-game half of the shows, and I feel like I've just been on this other island away from you, and so you guys have been all hanging out. I didn't get to spend time with you.
Well, I
This
thought
is-
I was the
this
one
is our-
causing the rift, and I didn't want to be the one
no,
driving
no.
the wedge between
But what I
you
do
two.
appreciate about you is I do not know you well. We said hello to each other in the other room. We're about to talk for an hour, and that's exciting to me. But you are a very important figure in the dynamic that is me and Nick's relationship because you're kind of like the other woman in a way.
Okay.
Where
Okay.
it's just
No,
like
we're not that close,
Nick
but we're
goes-
getting there.
I know, but Nick goes
Yeah.
down to LA and has like I don't know. You have all these LA friends.
I do have some cool LA friends right
Yeah.
now. Well, people are doing cool stuff
I'm
down
jealous.
there, and I'm
Does
happy
he
to be a
refer
part of
to
them.
us as his cool? Hey, I gotta
No,
go. I gotta go jet set to see my cool LA friends.
He does this thing where he's just like, "Hey, I'm doing it." When Nick calls it a day trip, I'm always like, "You're so
Oh,
not
he does.
LA."
He does the cash drop. Like,
He's
yeah,
just like,
dude,
"I'm just going to
to
day trip
for
to
a
LA."
day.
You know, I'm gonna go to Collider. You know, I'm just gonna do something. It's like, I love you, Nick.
I go to happy hour with the
never
W.
stop being you.
Let me just explain to you guys something. When the plane touches down on the tarmac of Burbank Airport, and they go, we're going to be deplaning from both sides. And I go out the rear because I'm always late, and I have no good numbers anywhere in any of these rewards programs, so I'm always fucking the last person. I'm like, doesn't matter. When I get off that plane,
The
in
asshole of
LA,
the plane.
I'm being spit out of the asshole of the plane.
Which is always fun.
It is fun. And I walk down the stairs and my foot hits LA soil. It just feels right. Do I imagine that I am Daniel Craig from that scene in Casino Royale where Adriana Lima walks past him and goes, ooh, yes, I do. Every single fucking time I get off and I step onto the tarmac.
Ooh, that's a good question. So so that's your answer for
Yeah.
when you land on a plane and you're walking through the airport. I always fancy myself Johnny Depp from Blow.
Oh, that's a good one
You
too.
know, I always pretend there's just like just a full suitcase of Coke I'm carrying through, but I'm walking to Ram Jam. You know,
Yeah.
I'm walking to Black Betty. Ain't nobody stopping me. I feel so good. That's what I want to be. In reality, I'm like when Robin Williams gets off the plane in Good Morning Vietnam, and he's like half dressed and he doesn't have his uniform on at all, and he's bitching about the heat. That's who I really am.
That's generally, I'm probably closer to that as well. You loved it. Last time we went down there for LA, you were like, this is fucking awesome. Because Burbank, if you've never flown into Burbank Airport, it's not a real airport. I'm convinced
It looks like a set.
it is a movie set that someone left up and they just accidentally started flying planes into it.
I
so
am
here's the thing.
shocked they allow planes to land there.
dumb. There's
really
no
weird.
security.
Doesn't seem
Yeah.
safe. It was called the Bob Hope Airport, and now no longer called the Bob
No,
Hope
it's
Airport.
still referred to as the Bob Hope Airport.
But they took his name down, and it's not real anymore.
Well, they did that after because it was built in 1969 so they could film the moon landing. And then after that, they started landing real planes there.
Okay.
And planes taking off and into Burbank Airport, it's more expensive, okay? But it's so much more convenient for people because you can get in and out of Burbank Airport. It's like going to the mall.
It's
Yeah.
great.
They don't care.
It really, really is.
Yeah.
I like how you subtly threw in a conspiracy
What did I
theory
say?
into-
I didn't say anything.
into the airport. And he's done it 3 times now where he's like, let me just tell you about JFK and why the parade route was changed the day of. And I'm like,
I
let's
could do
not
90 minutes
that.
on JFK. I'm pretty sure the moon landing happened. Like I'm pretty sure.
Are you really someone who buys into the who goes
I buy into the
conspiracy
JFK
theories?
conspiracy 1,000%. Yeah.
That makes that's
you
harder
gotta look
to-
in the sewer. That's where the gunman was, in my opinion. But
Just shooting up from the sewer.
dude,
We were
Praying and
just
praying.
talking about this
How is-
yesterday about like I was I want to be a denier of something. You know, there's all these like the climate change deniers and all the flat earthers and stuff. I was like, I just want to commit to something and just be like, nah, it didn't happen, and just see if I can convince people that I truly believe it.
100% can. And that's why I don't want you to, because people look up to you, and you have a very strong confidence when you say things. And if you were to just start saying the earth is flat, you could probably convince some people.
Yeah.
I also think that people just want to like go against the grain of the system. There are people, I've never met anyone like this, who just want to disagree with things just because they want to disagree with them, myself included. So I think honestly, if you were like, let's do that, someone would be like, it's that thing where it's like, remember when you didn't like Fast and Furious and you're like, this is stupid, we're gonna make fun of it, and then at a certain point it turns a corner, no pun intended, and you go,
Turns so
fuck it,
fast
we're in
and
it,
drifts
fuck it,
away.
we're in it, you know?
Yeah.
That's where we are at with Fast and Furious. And by the way, that is exactly what happened to us with ice dancing. Remember
Oh
ice
my
dancing?
god, ice dancing changed my life.
Are you familiar with the Olympics, Mark Ellis?
Are you familiar with the Winter Olympics?
I used to.
Have you heard of Lindsey Vonn?
When I was a kid, the Olympics were a big deal. The Summer Olympics, the Winter Olympics, and it's like the world stopped for 2 weeks. And now, because I'm a huge sports fan, so I get so much sports content. I watch every play of every NFL game, most basketball, baseball. Now I look at the Olympics as a 2-week break from sports, where I don't watch any of it.
Damn.
It's so weird, because I used to care about this stuff. I really do. I still watch the hockey. I was happy to see our women beat Canada. Our men, I think, beat Canada curling. But I didn't watch that. I just heard it, and I'm like, oh, good. I don't need to watch it. Summer Olympics I get into, but the only reason I get into Summer Olympics is because of the NBA.
Yeah, yeah.
But you're missing out on ice dancing.
I hear.
Because it is spectacular. It is the most fantastic thing I've ever seen.
Is it ice skating or is it
So
different?
here's the thing. It's ice skating, but it is different.
It's
so
not ice
It's a
skating,
couples thing. The ice skating's judged differently. There's this whole set of rules of you have to hit all these specific things in your set. And it's fantastic.
It is, yeah. It is very similar to pairs figure skating, but it is not pairs figure skating.
It's kind of like how synchronized swimming is different than swimming.
Yes.
But they both involve water.
Exactly, and people who can wade in the water professionally.
ways.
My wife texted me that we were watching this, and it started off as a joke. I was like, "This is dumb. I'm going to immediately pick my phone up and start just screwing off on the internet or whatever."
Are you allowed to do that? If your wife says, "Hey, we're watching something," are you guys far enough to where you can just be like, "Hey, honey, I'm here. My body is here, and that's enough."
Yeah, we hit that about 4 years ago. Because my wife is a very interesting human being. She has never been, and thank God, because I don't think that I could have married someone like this. She has never been the kind of person that just needs me to be around all the time.
That's a huge play.
Will tell me she is not one of those. She's also not one of those people who gives me subtle hints when she wants to spend time with me. She will just call me and say, "Hey, it'd be awesome if you could be home tomorrow. I'd love to see you." And I go, "Cool, I'll be home tomorrow."
Be there.
Right? That's it. For the rest of the time, I just assume she does not want me to be part of her life.
Has it always
until
been
I've
like
told
that,
so.
or is
Yeah.
it just you guys are sick of each other now?
No,
no, it's not that at all.
She's always been fiercely, I don't want to say independent because that makes her sound like she's out there like fucking fighting for social change. She just goes, look, we enjoy our life together, but she appreciates having her own thing to do.
That's great. That's great to hear.
She just loves her magazine.
She loves her mags. She likes to sit. And sometimes we'll be home together and I'll be watching something and she goes, do you mind if I just go in the other room? And I'm like, no, I don't give a fuck.
That sounds like
and
a
she'll just
dream
go sit
scenario.
and read in the other room and then inevitably fall asleep.
Because I'm a single fella and I see people who are married and I just assume it's the horror show that is marriage in my mind, where it's just like you're together all the time, you never get to go out by yourself, never get that freedom, and that's kind of
That
important to
doesn't
me.
sound good.
I need my downtime.
We have put a lot of effort into our relationship to a point where we can be there for the things that we need to be there for each other. We can grow together, but then we can also just every once in a while fuck off and do whatever the hell we want to do.
Doesn't sound like you can do that with ice skating, though.
No.
It sounds like if you're ice dancing, you need to be with
Bro.
each other every waking moment to
I mean, if
practice.
you're
I'm
even
going to tell
watching
you
ice
something
dancing,
right now.
it just bonds you.
You're going to watch ice dancing, and as a fan of sports,
Am I going to watch it, though?
You are going to
should.
fucking watch it, because in 4 years I'm coming to your house. I'm going to make you watch it
I'm
with my
going to
wife.
Scarpino it.
There
I'm
you
taking
go.
my phone out.
Dude, I was like, this is so dumb, but my wife wants to watch this. I'll let her watch it, and like, or not let her watch it, but she can watch whatever she wants. Like, I don't let my wife do anything. Trust me.
Here's your crust of bread. Watch this show.
Get in fucking line. she wanted to watch it, and I'm like, I'll give it a shot. I'll give everything a shot. I don't care. Fucking, who cares? 5 minutes in, I'm like, I'm not making it the whole hour on this. 10 minutes in, I'm like, I am fucking sold.
Riveting,
on
man.
ice dancing.
It's fucking
And it got you too.
Oh my
Dude,
god!
I came in the next
on the
day.
morning show. He was like, "Tim, you gotta look at this." And we watched it with people, and it blew my mind. It blew my mind so much
It's
that
absurd.
I've rewatched a segment like 4 different times with different people because I keep selling them. Like, you gotta look at this ice dancing
Dude, you
shit.
gotta get into this virtual.
And it's all
a game changer,
synchronized, or is
Yes.
it like?
It's
Choreographed.
synchronized.
It's this whole thing, and the Team Canada are just.
They fucking.
They'll
You
change
know what really
this.
got me was I'm not a very competitive person, as we talked about. We had lunch today. We talked about how my lack of competition has probably hurt me in life.
Our lunch was just me. Arm wrestle me, pussy. What's wrong? He'd win, by the way.
It's one of those.
He's
I don't know,
all
I'm,
big now.
I'm pretty feeble in my old age. No, it's one of those things where it came down to where they're smart with the Olympics, right? They know who's going to be the final 3 people. More often than not, they're like, there's no reason to put Virtue and Moore up first. They're going fucking last because they're clearly the best. Second best is a French team. Third best is the other team. So of course it's third.
Ship Sibs.
Yeah, the Ship Sibs. Shout out to Ship Sibs. So they programmed that evening's hour to build that tension, and sure as shit, it came down to the last 2 people were second and first. So the second to last to go had the score for first, and then the team that actually ended up winning went last and it was very tense. I was like, dude, if they nail this program, they're gonna get this. I don't know what any of that means. I don't know how they score points. I just knew that if Virtue and Moore scored 1 point more than the French team, they take home the gold. And as a person who doesn't like sports, I'm like, this must be what Mark Ellis feels every Sunday.
Yeah. Well, on top of that, it's not just fuck who wins and who loses and shit. It's so cool to watch.
fucking rad.
There are moments, these couple, hot couple, skating around,
fuck hot.
doing the thing. You can just feel the sexual tension. All of a sudden,
Are most of them dating like together?
Well, some of them are siblings, but that's a whole other thing.
Some of them probably are not into each other.
I'm from
in
a part
that
of the country that doesn't frown upon that.
the siblings.
The Ship Sibs. She does a backflip, landing on his face, like crotch first.
I might have seen a picture of that on the
you
internet.
did.
And he like wore her like a mask, like
Yeah.
Kevin said, and then jumps off, and at some point jumps up and with her skates lands on his thighs, and you're like, how is that fucking possible?
beautiful.
He kind
Titanics
of
it.
like limbos down, and she straight up just Titanics it. And it is awesome.
It's gorgeous.
All right. I'm interested. I'm intrigued. But I'll be honest with you guys, and this is a emotional thing that I have, and it's something that's very tough for me to watch certain performances. And I love competition, because if this was ice dancing where it's your team versus your team and you're fighting each other and there
fight,
can be only one,
capoeira.
I'm in on dance fight.
Yeah.
But I'm not in, I don't consider, I mean, I know it's a sport and it's competition, but
Yeah.
if you're just performing for judges,
Yeah.
it's the same reason I don't like being at live theater, because I don't like watching people fail. I like watching people win and lose. I don't like watching people fail, like fall. I hate watching ice skating because if somebody falls, I feel so bad for them. I don't like being at theater because if somebody flubs a line, I get nervous before the performance. If so, like Cirque du Soleil, I cannot do. I will not be sitting in Las Vegas trying to enjoy my weekend and watch some acrobat fall to their death 100 feet because they didn't time it right. Like, I cannot stand that. I get so nervous.
It's weird that you say that. But segueing over to today's topic, your chosen profession is to do that every night on stage and watch your friends do that every night on stage as a stand-up comedian.
It is a little fun to watch comics fail. I guess it's a little bit different. But see, maybe it's just I have the confidence in myself, or at least I know that myself. I know how I'm going to handle the failure or the win.
Yeah.
You know, I know I'll be able to, get up, dust myself off, and be okay. But I think I just trust myself in that situation, and I don't trust anybody else. Not because I'm better than anybody else. It's just I know this, and I don't know what's in any of them.
Yeah.
And it scares me because I don't like. It's why I don't go to air shows. It's why I don't go to shuttle launches. How awkward is
don't
it
wanna
if you're
see
at an air
something
show?
That's why I don't go to air shows.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, you guys want to go watch the planes? It's like, oh God, this is going to be a bad day. Like, what do we do? Do we stay for the other planes?
I guess. I mean,
we
you got to
leave?
give them a shot to win, right? If the other one went down.
Do you think you
Flames.
survived?
I
Like,
don't
should we
think
wait?
we
I don't know.
Oh, I forgot to do the rigmarole, ladies and gentlemen. I should probably put that in at some
I'm
point.
sure they're familiar.
24
GameOverGreggy
minutes.
show.
This is a GameOverGreggy show. Each and every week,
This
we have
table.
4, sometimes 5 best friends gather around this table with topics for your amusement. Of course, this show launches every Friday at 9 a.m. And if you want to get it early, you can support us over on patreon.com/kindafunny at the $1 above level, which you get to watch live, which is awesome. If you want to support us a little bit more, you get the episodes ad-free with the pre and post show baked into them, so you see all the shenanigans we talked about before and after the show. Today's topic is going to be, what does it take to succeed in stand-up comedy?
God.
What is it going to be?
I wish you had said anything other than stand-up.
What?
I could have spoken intelligently about that.
No. So one of the things that was interesting is obviously I like going down to LA because a lot of people down there are doing cool stuff that I'm into. But I did not know you prior to doing the Schmodown the first time.
Yeah, I guess that's how we met.
Yeah, we met that way. And I didn't even know necessarily. I had met so many people, and like, you know, when you go into an organization, there's like 50 people who have been working together, like, and they just fucking know everything. And someone goes, "Oh, this person. Oh yeah, you should know this person from this." And I'm like, I don't know anyone's name. It took me. Still to this day, I walk into your guys' office and I'm like, I have to I have to look everyone up ahead of time so I don't embarrass myself and say the wrong name, and inevitably I do. Luckily, Brienne's usually there, and she's like over my shoulder, like, his name is Mark Ellis.
Yeah, she's good about that.
But
yeah.
she mentioned that obviously you are a regular at a number of places, not the least of which is the world famous Comedy Store. And I say that not because it's built into the name, but because literally is one of the, if not, I would say it's probably the top club to do comedy at least in the States, if not in the world.
Yeah, I think it's the best comedy club in the world.
Yeah.
I think it's got the most history behind it. I think it's got definitely the most unusual history, the most haunted history. It's got everything that you possibly want in a comedy club, and just like a weird historic venue. It's more of an artist colony is how I've heard it described, more so than a straight comedy club. Although now it's going through a resurgence where it's not just great for a comic, it's also great for the audience, which is kind of a big deal.
I love it. I've been there 2 times
Twice,
now,
yeah.
and both those times has been so much better than anything I've experienced in San Francisco. And there's some nice places in San Francisco.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've worked Cobb's. Cobb's is great. The Punchline up here and Sacramento, I've done those are great clubs.
They're great.
There's great clubs all over the country. I mean, look, if an audience shows up and we're excited to be on stage, it's a whole lot of fun. I could rattle off 10 clubs that I think are great places to work on the road. There's just nothing like the Comedy Store, but it's not always because it's easy. Like, I could talk about how great the Laugh Factory stage is because it's a very easy club to perform at in terms of
What does that mean?
The crowd's going to laugh. It's just,
But why? Like, what makes that crowd different than Comedy Store?
It's a great question, and nobody really scientifically knows the answer to it. I remember I was
We're
talking.
not scientists, Tim.
Yeah,
We're comics.
There's a run of clubs called Zanies, which comedy clubs have the best names, don't they? Coconuts, Bananas, Zanies. Sir Laughs a Lot.
It has to exude fun.
Yeah, it's
It
like
does really,
we're
except for the
going
Ice House,
crazy
that's
at
how it's started
Hyenas. And
Is there a place called Hyenas?
there's a run of them in Texas.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Life
All over
goals,
the
Tim.
place.
Life goals.
Let's get me to Hyenas.
But I'm doing the Comedy Castle in a few weeks, which is a great, but again, it's a great club. And like, these clubs are now, the newer ones, they're kind of engineered for comedy, so they try to keep them a little cooler. They keep them around like 65 degrees inside, because if you're an audience and you're in there and you're colder, a colder audience is going to laugh more than a hot audience. That's why it was famous. Letterman's studio was always super cold. Everybody complained about how freezing it was, but then you get in there and you're watching the show. For whatever reason, you're just going to laugh more. Maybe because it makes you warm. I have no idea why.
Interesting. There's a place called the Ice House that we went.
It's literally called the Ice House. Yeah.
Well, that's because it used to be an ice house.
Really?
Yeah.
It did used to be a nice house.
Yeah, I'm reading Steve Martin's autobiography right now, and he talks about how he used to perform there, and that's one of the things he said. Also, randomly, it was a small world, but he performed up in San Francisco his first few times at a place called Coffee and Confusion, which I looked at the outside of it, I'm like, I think that's Tote Bar, and I think I do mics there, which is weird.
Really?
Yeah, it's over on Grant in North Beach, which is weird.
That's
all these,
right.
Like,
His
all these
book
places,
is fantastic.
I'm maybe halfway through right now, and I'm just like, it's awesome, it's inspiring, but it's also fucking insanely intimidating, because when you have someone who's, and this is what I wanted to talk to you about, when you have someone who's been on the other side of it, who's put 40 years into it, who has done the work and put the work in, and you read that and you start thinking to yourself, what am I signing up for here?
Well, there's doing the work, and then there's doing what he did, which is a lot of people put in the work and can have nice careers. I can have a very nice career for myself, provide a nice living for me and the children I don't ever want to have.
No.
But
You can have
Steve
some
Martin was maybe the biggest comic of all time. If you look at just their apex, Steve Martin was selling out arenas. He was selling out 30,000 seaters a night all over the country just doing his wild and crazy guy stuff, and fans could not get enough of it. And that's the best part of that book is what you're going to get to is he got to the pinnacle of stand-up. It's almost like so many people have tried to climb the stand-up mountain. You're climbing it right now. I'm climbing it right now. You know, we're all looking for a Sherpa to get us to the next plateau. He got to the top. He got to the top, and he sat there and he said, "Where can I go from there?" Oh shit, nowhere. I'm done with stand-up.
Yeah.
Like, I'm literally done. Because he'd talk about how time after time he would sell out a theater. They're screaming for more. Thank you, good night. Gets off, gets back into the car by himself. The car takes him back to his hotel, and he can't go into the bar and celebrate. He can't go out because he's too famous. So he just goes back into a hotel room by himself, and he just sits there.
Man.
And that's your life. So you have to be so in love with that hour that you're doing that it makes the other 23 hours of your life that are kind of hellaciously either lonely or frustrating because people are trying to get your autograph all the time. That's it. That's what your life is. I mean, for me, the hour is so much fun that I don't have throngs of fans that are bugging me either, you know?
Right.
And it's just like that's what winning a championship in stand-up is that level of loneliness and isolation.
So he was, so dialing it back, let's go back to the beginning. You're 14 years old. No, I'm joking. At what point did you say, "Hey, I want to be a stand-up"?
I love making people laugh when I was in school, and I either had a propensity for it or just a sheer amount of desperation where I was a fat kid.
Yeah, me too.
But I was always funny, and like I could make people laugh, and so I was always in with the cool kids. That makes sense. So I was never like you know, people call you fat every day of your life. Like you're gonna get a chubby joke. If I got out of school without getting called chubby once that day, it was a big W for me. But I still was in with the cool kids because I could either make fun of myself or make fun of them or throw it back or for whatever reason. And then I got into high school, and I will never forget just like the sound of making a classroom laugh. And I was the class clown where I tried to make the teacher laugh too. I wasn't just like farting when she did roll call or whatever. I was trying to make them laugh too.
You were very inclusive. I appreciate
I tried to get everybody united. It didn't always work, but I tried. And again, I was a kid, and I'm trying to be funny. Occasionally, I made fun of the teacher, but it was really funny. And I just kind of learned that that's my in to whatever I want to do, because like girls would notice you, you get asked to Sadie Hawkins dance because you're the funny guy,
Boom.
And all that stuff. And there was a couple movies that were very influential around that time. One was The Nutty Professor, and the other one was Liar Liar.
Oh yeah.
Because I saw Ace Ventura in the theater, and I wanted to go see Blue Chips because that opened that weekend too with Nick Nolte and Shaq.
Sports nerd, you sports nerd.
And I was like, no, dude, Shaquille O'Neal's in this movie. We gotta go see it.
It's gonna be great.
And my buddy's like, no, we gotta go see this guy, the white guy from In Living Color. I'm like, yeah, I know him. The previews don't look that funny. We saw Ace Ventura, and we howled laughing so hard. I did not know a man could make comedy like that. So I was a huge fan of Jim Carrey ever since. When Liar Liar came out, I was kind of like, I was in high school, but I was just kind of bored. I felt like I had hit a wall with like, yeah, I'm making people laugh in class, but it's not worth it. Nothing's ever going to go with this. And then I went to go see Liar Liar. And I'm sitting there in a packed theater, and I'm watching this one dude on screen make a very diverse group of people laugh. Men, women, all races, all ethnicities, where I grew up. And they're all laughing together, the same thing. And I'm like, God, that's a special gift this guy has. Like, I guess this is something that is worth pursuing. And it just kind of like reawakened me into wanting to do it more. And I still consider myself a junior in high school. Like that's literally where my mentality is.
Yeah.
The modern era of Mark Ellis started there, and it has not progressed since then.
I'm always fascinated that they still let me drive.
So what's interesting to me about this is looking at Nick in the last year. I've known him a very long time now, and we've done this forever. But in the last year, you decided I'm going to do the stand-up comedy thing. It was your New Year's resolution on the show. We talked about it, and then you, without really telling us, just kind of slipped off and did it by yourself and went to the open mics and started getting in there. And then it wasn't until you did a couple that you then revealed to us that behind our backs you had been, and I mean that in a fun way, had been kind of doing that whole thing. And now, we've well documented your travel since then. But
which I can postulate is how you know that he's serious about it. Because if he made a New Year's resolution on the show and had like a big, hey, it's Nick's first time doing stand-up, everybody come out and watch, and it's like, okay, well, is this a stunt? Is this just like a fun radio thing, or does this guy really care about it? The fact that he snuck off and did it without anybody knowing, because that's how you do it. You do it. Stand up is you exposing yourself to strangers. Not literally. You get arrested for that.
Yeah.
It's showing a piece of your life or a piece of your mentality, your viewpoint to strangers. It's not about inviting your friends. It's really not about inviting your fans. You get famous and you get fans, and it's great, but it's about you telling your truth to a group of people you have never met before. And so to do that the way you did it means that you actually cared about this craft.
It's very weird because I still think kind of along those lines where I kind of feel like I'm putting my friends out when I ask them to come see me. And I almost feel like I'm cheating a little bit.
That sucks, doesn't it?
Where you're like, when I have 20 people in the audience that I know has heard these jokes before, but that will be, they'll give me the laugh, you know? Yeah. I feel like I'm not earning it. And that was for me, it was like, I went out and I was like, I had this inclination that I was going to like it beforehand. I knew it was going to be hard. I had this inclination that I was going to go and then I was going to like it. But like so many other things, I'm like, oh man, I have to admit this to myself. And I have to admit this to everyone.
Have you been on stage? And I mean, you'd been on stage in front of people.
Yeah.
Like doing this.
Thousands. No, I mean, we've done, when we do PAX or any, like Comic-Con, any of these places, we pack rooms full of like hundreds, if not thousands of people.
So you've spoken in front of live people.
I have zero, I have zero problems with that. But there's a difference between improving what you're going to say. Well, not even improving. You're just speaking from your heart and occasional jokes come out like we're doing right now versus saying, I am inviting you here. You're going to sit down and for 10 minutes, I'm going to try my damnedest to make you laugh. There is just, it's not that the audience gets put on guard, but there's an expectation that I'm telling you I'm delivering comedy. It's like when you order a pizza and someone delivers Chinese food, you're like, that's fucking weird because I wanted a fucking pizza, bro. That's a terrible, I should stay away from metaphors, analogies whatsoever. But
that was deep.
Nah, not really. So yeah, when I snuck away to go do it, I'm like, I want to see what this is, but I also want to see what this is, not from the guise of Nick from Kind of Funny who needs your help. I just want to try this and see, because part of me looks back in the past and says, like, I'm very proud with where we're at right now. I'm very proud of what we get to do. But part of me wonders, and will always wonder, what if I had the motivation and the tools that I have now? What if I had even 50% or 25% of that when I was 22? Because I was telling you earlier.
You started to backtrack,
I started backtracking.
Where would I have been?
Yeah, because I think, oh, I love this, and I think I wish. I look at the guys that have been doing it for 15 years. I'm like, oh, that's so cool that you have done this. You've committed to this, and look at where you're at in your career, and look at how many people you know, and all the cool things you get to do, and you travel around the country and you perform at clubs. I look back to when I was 21, working at the Irvine Spectrum, and I used to park and walk by the Irvine Improv every fucking day. And it was like, it was just another building to me. And now it's weird to look back and know and like think, oh, if someone that in my life that I looked up to, or maybe even if someone said, hey, you know what, you should try this. You should think about this. You should go to a show and let me expose you to this because I think you get a lot out of it and I think you could do it. But I just, for whatever reason, the road just took me around the Irvine Improv.
What years were you?
I was there probably around 2001, 2002.
Okay.
That was when I worked
before
there.
I landed on Plymouth Rock out in LA. But yeah, that's...
Because I was in there, I was there during college and I graduated in 2002. So I worked for a couple of years there. And of course, you know, my brother went to school at Fullerton, so I was always over by the Brea Improv. We have great comedy in Orange County. There's great clubs there.
Both those clubs are great.
I took a date once on a second date for her birthday to see Andrew Dice Clay. And it was
her birthday? To see Dice?
To see Dice. And she was like, I don't really know who this guy is. And I'm like, let me prep you. Now, granted, she was the kind of person that I'm like, I know she's going to think this is funny because I knew her. We had known each other for a while.
Dice's stuff is really good, too.
It's good. But it sounds like it's more of a leap than you think it would be because she was like, she had a really great sense of humor and she could hang with anyone. And so I was like, I think she'll appreciate seeing this guy, but she didn't have any context for him whatsoever. She wasn't like a big Dice fan of the 80s. And she never seen like The Adventures of Ford Failure or any of the specials he had done. But we sat there and it was at the Brea Improv and it was so fucking weird and surreal to see a guy that I idolized when I was young standing in front of me. Like it made it so much weird and real. But even then, I was like, I could never deal with this fucking guy. It never even occurred to me. Now, granted, he spent 20 minutes calling a guy an asshole face because the guy was a heckler. And by the way, if you ever go see Andrew Dice Clay, don't heckle him.
Not a good idea. Why would you do that?
Don't sit in the front row and heckle Andrew. He made this guy leave.
The same way. Don't do that.
Oh, Andrew Dice Clay fucking made the guy leave to the point where his wife was like asking him to stop. He was like, just stop talking. Let's just go. I have seen
Dice go so deep into a heckler and hecklers deserve it, by the way.
Fuck yeah.
So Dice will go deep and we're laughing with Dice. Now the whole crowd is united against the heckler, and then Dice keeps going, and then we feel bad for the heckler, and then he keeps going, and then we remember why we hated him in the first place, and then we're like, yeah, get him out of here.
Fucking kill that guy.
He will spend a good chunk of time on a heckler.
I'll never forget that. The guy just had the balls to interrupt in 1 second, and Dice, he called him asshole face. He's like, oh, what do you think about that asshole face? And just kept coming back, and the guy's like, I'm not even talking anymore. Dice is like, dude. Doesn't fucking matter, bro.
Yeah,
you're done.
See, that's funny. I mean, I remember my first time being in a comedy club, and it was nothing short of a revelation to me.
Really?
Because we went to for Easter break for some random reason. My family, it was me and my brother. My sister was in a different college, so it was me and my brother and my mom and my dad. We just went up to New York for a weekend and like go see like Phantom of the Opera or something, and then I was like, hey, Dad, do you think we could go to like a comedy club one night? You know, because we're there for 3 nights, and so he's like, yeah, let me look into it. We get the Zaggett's Guide. You know, and we find Dangerfields, and it's like, yeah,
what a great
let's go
club
to
to go
Dangerfields.
to.
And I remember just being there, and the first thing that struck me was like, this is a very casual atmosphere. Like, because you have no idea what to expect, you know?
Yeah.
If you're coming at stand-up from what you've seen as a kid at the time, renting like Robin Williams Live at the Met from Video Update, it's very different. This is just a dingy comedy club, and then all of a sudden the show starts, and the host comes up, and she was okay. But I remember being like, okay, this is what a host does.
How old were you at this point?
In college. I was like 20, 21.
Okay.
I guess I must have been 21. And then a couple other comics come by, and then they start to be, and it's like, it's funny, and you're laughing a lot. But these comics, they're not talking to like a camera. They're doing a show just for the people in here. Nobody outside this room has any idea what we're talking about. And I always love that about stand-up, that it's like, we're in here, we're the ones on the inside. We're telling secrets about everybody else out there. And this is the only crowd. It's like during Prohibition and you're drinking alcohol. You know, we're the only ones that get this barrel of gin. And the one that I still remember was Tom Papa went up in there. And it was when he was starting out, but I just remember he just had a great vibe. He was already like wearing suits every night, and he just had a really funny take, and I was like, yeah, this is something that's very interesting. And then as I continued in college, I was like, I think I kind of want to do this, and I'd already had the inkling by the time. That's why I wanted to go to the comedy club in the first place. And then I made the decision to do it. I never did it in college.
Okay.
Never did it in college. Did a little improv, did some radio and TV stuff, never did stand-up.
Had you done theater or anything prior to this?
I acted in some stuff in school, but nothing serious. You know, nothing, because God forbid I would ever put myself out there and embarrass myself, you know, in front of my friends that I worked so hard to win the favor of by being the funny guy in the first place. So I break up with my girlfriend at the time, and I'm going to move out to LA because I had a buddy who was living out there. I could sleep on his couch. Great.
Where are you from again?
I went to school in North Carolina, Wake Forest.
Okay,
and but I grew up. My dad was in the Air Force, so we moved around a lot.
Okay,
settled in Virginia. Went to school in North Carolina. And
do you think that's probably why, psychologically speaking, as your doctor right now, you chose to try to be?
I've gone down that wormhole, yeah. Because it's like we moved a lot on my birthday because my birthday's in the summer. Like it's I'm July 7th, so it's the middle of the summer. So it's like, hey, we're moving every 2 or 3 years to a new place across the country. And I never minded that much, though. I mean, I would use it to garner like an extra $5 of sympathy, you know, in the Christmas card. But it was great. Like I looked forward to the family evenings at Denny's. And I look forward to the Holiday Inns that we stayed out on the road.
Interesting.
And I still do. Like,
shout out to Denny's, man.
It's nice I'm saying at the W tonight, but I love a Holiday Inn Express. Yeah. You know, I love that kind of stuff. And driving out there to LA, I stopped at the Zanies in Tennessee the first night, which is a great club. It's in Nashville. And I saw Robert Kelly open for Dane Cook.
Oh, fuck.
And I was a big Dane Cook fan, and watching his Harmful Swallowed stuff in college.
Dane Cook is fucking funny.
He's great.
People give him so much shit.
I'm sitting in the front row by myself, and he comes on stage, and he just takes over the room.
Really?
He's one of these guys. He's going to use every ounce of the stage. He's going to walk around, especially back then. He was very physical, walk around. But I remember thinking, like, he's doing the act that I've already heard. Like, he's not making this up in his head. And
that's always a weird revelation, right?
It is. It's I wouldn't categorize it as disappointment, but it's like, oh, I'm starting to see just a little bit. I'm starting to see the wizard's shoe behind the curtain. You know, I just see a little thing, and I'm like, wait a minute. I'm starting to figure this
casual,
out.
but it's not.
That's
like it's
right.
very premeditated.
It's especially weird when you see a comic work on the sort of impromptu moments, the things that he they're acting like they just thought of it and they're going to the crowd for it, but it's like oh
no,
no, you've been working on that for a while.
I've seen you do that.
You're trying to make it
before.
sound natural, but none of us are good actors at all.
No, or else the good ones are, and I think that's the thing. Where it's like it
possible.
kind of disappears into it, and you buy that they're coming up with it on the spot, and it's weird. The first stand up I saw live was Aziz Ansari, and it was his at that point I guess third special that he did, and I'd seen the first two on TV.
So this is
and
pretty recent, right?
I mean, at this point maybe 3 or 4
years
years
ago,
ago, yeah. And I loved him. I thought the stand-ups were so fucking funny. The specials were great. I'd watched, dabbled into Comedy Central stuff and the Russell Peters and that era of things. But to go and see him live was probably the most disappointing thing I've ever done. Where we were in this big arena-esque theater and we're seeing him do his thing, and it was like he wasn't doing the stuff that we've already heard, and he was very clearly being like, I'm doing something different. And I was like, this isn't why I came to see you.
Really?
Yeah. And it was weird. And I didn't enjoy it at all. And I totally swore off live comedy. I was like, not for me.
Please don't judge the rest of us by Aziz. But who I don't think is bad. I mean, like his texting ability aside, like I don't think like I don't think he's a bad comic. He was just never my kind of taste. I really like his acting. Like I like Master of None a lot, but it's interesting to hear you say that, because comics, we always have in our head that we're the opposite of a band like Journey, where when you pay money to see Journey, you're not paying to see the new stuff.
Yeah.
It's cute. You worked on a couple new songs.
Yeah.
Play Don't Stop Believing.
Yeah.
Play Faithfully. Play Open Arms. Play Stone in Love. I'm a Journey fan.
Yeah.
But when you see a comic, you don't want to see me do the Don't Stop Believing and the Open Arms.
I guess that's where this gets complicated, is because you say you don't, but you really do. And I think that's the problem, because I went there, and when he did stuff that was radically different, I was like, man, I would have almost preferred that you did the same set that I had seen 2 years ago. So it's, not exactly fresh in my mind, and I'd still laugh because I still think it's funny. But yeah, it is. You still want that type of equal, same but different, right? And so that totally turned me off of all the comedy stuff. And it wasn't until Nick started doing this that I was like, and with the resurgence of Netflix and comedy, and like,
that's really what got me too.
I watch a stand-up special like probably 4 times a week now, because there's so many of them, and I love watching that. But I was like, I still give up on this live thing. Then I started going to open mics with you, and I'm like, I'm fucking addicted. I love it.
I think you didn't get into it until I took you to Punchline that first time.
The punchline changed everything.
How do you like
for me.
Punchline?
It was amazing.
So I took Tim one time and his girlfriend Gia to Punchline. Does a showcase every Sunday called the SF Showcase, and you have to go. I don't know if you ever did it, but you probably didn't have to. We go. All the open micers go every Sunday, and we just hang out, and maybe we get picked, and maybe we don't. I have yet to get picked, but that's going to be the case. Well, who's that? Who is it?
Jared saying bye.
Bye, Jared. I love how you're best friends now.
You're my best friend.
Everybody, it was wonderful to meet you.
Have a great show, Jared.
Thank you so much. I will endeavor to do so.
Bye.
Gentlemen as well.
Cheers,
Jared.
sir. I'm gonna marry that man.
He's
one
a
day.
great guy. He's married though already, unfortunately. But maybe it'll get legal. Maybe polygamy will get legal. So I was like, hey Tim, I'm doing. Actually, what had happened was I was at open mic prior to that at OMG, which is the most. You want to see the opposite of a fun club? Go to the open mic on Sunday nights at OMG. It's
called OMG.
OMG.
Is
called
it a
OMG.
full-time comedy club?
No,
it is a
gay
gay
bar.
Yeah.
And we went in there.
Yeah.
And there was no gay men.
No.
Which is not a good sign at a gay bar.
No one's there. So the
No
guy,
one
the
was
guy that
there.
runs the place
No
goes
one was
to get a little
there.
extra income, does an open mic prior to their Sunday night activities. But so I started going there because a lot of the guys that were trying to get past at Punchline would go there to work on their material first, shake off the rust a little bit. Make sure that you've done it before. I'm sure.
I've done a lot of stand-up at gay bars too.
There you go.
There's a lot of good ones in West Hollywood.
I was disappointed that there were no gay men in this gay bar, because more often than not, they find me attractive, and that's how it goes.
More
It's very
often than not.
It's very flattering out there.
It's the beard. It's because you have a beard guy.
Oh, yeah, it is because you have a beard guy.
know?
No, all kidding aside, it's the worst mic on the planet, because it's the 20 or so comedians that are going to try and audition for Punchline that night, and they're all nervous, and they're not paying
The
attention
20
to you.
or so.
Well,
At least not the time I was
no,
there.
it's been a
The
lot of
6 or so.
a lot of people have been
The
coming back
only
to this
people
one.
in that bar, it was 5 of them and the bartender. And oh my God, it was horrible.
It was brutal.
That's tough.
So I had tweeted out that I was there, and Tim and Gia were shopping around the corner. They came by to say hi. And then I was like, well, I'm going to Punchline after this. And Tim had only ever seen me at open mics. And he's like, well, what is this? I'm like, well, this is sort of like all of the locals that are kind of up and comers are generally get to go up on stage here, and they do sets. And there's always the handful of like 5 or 6 people that are really good and hitting the next level, and they're paid they're regulars there and have been passed in this system. And then there's the rest of us. So I was like, I'm not gonna be able to go up, but you guys can come. And that night just happened to be really good, some really good comics.
It was 10 out of 10, honestly.
And Tim was
really?
like, whoa.
There was like 20 different people that went up, and they were all really
I think that was eye-opening for you, because prior to that, you'd seen me bomb a bunch of times. Everyone else bomb a bunch of times. I mean, when I say bomb, I don't mean like, hey, I told some jokes that landed flat. I mean, there was a couple premises in there somewhere, but nowhere close to a punchline.
Yeah.
You know, and that, which I think, by the way, is probably pretty typical of a lot of starting
Totally,
comics.
we know that we're looking at a rough draft and a work in progress.
it's always that.
We're part of the whole thing. We get it. But I had the Aziz experience as like the kind of the big popular guy that you're watching, and I was so let down by that. And then I went to a couple of open mics, and I was like, this is very scary and bad, and I can't believe Nick does this. And there was that. The only other experience I had was at Cobb's. You know the podcast Guys We Fucked?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw them do a thing live.
I randomly discovered that show because I was doing a run of shows at the New York Comedy Club in October, and she came in and opened for, what's her name?
Christina Hutchinson and Corinne Fisher.
Corinne came in and did a set before me. She came in and did it, and she was great.
She was great.
Hilarious.
And so what we saw was they did a podcast, and then in between intermissions, each one of them did a 10-minute set. So I was like, oh, I'm actually seeing stand-up comedy in a comedy club. Like, this is different, but at the end of the day, I still felt like it was similar to what we do.
Yeah.
They're just doing a panel show. They're just doing a podcast.
Sure.
So it wasn't until Punchline that I'm like, oh, this is what a comedy club
Man,
is.
you got a good night too. There
was
just
so
like
good.
there was. I mean, you're also talking about Punchline. You're getting maybe 5-6 minutes up there, so it's not like you're with a lot of these comics for the 15-minute set, and it just happened to be back to back like 5 or 6 people.
And you
that
give
were
a
just
comic
so fucking fun.
They haven't been doing it that long, but they have that tight 5 or 6, and they get a good crowd, and it's time to show off. I mean, my question for you is, I really wonder if being at an arena style show, or like a theater style show, is a good option for somebody who's never seen stand-up before live, because
it's definitely not.
I liked, we were talking about this for something I'm working on later this year, where I like 800 to 1,000 ideally in a theater as a comic. That feels great, but I think that I'm hoping it feels that good for the audience too, because especially a comic, there's comics that I think work better in theaters than others, and I never looked at Aziz. I looked at him more like a guy who works in a more intimate setting better than somebody like a Dane Cook or a Chris Rock.
Well, I mean, I love Aziz and specifically his older stuff and like all the Randy and all that stuff. I'm just I'm hip hop minded, so that stuff speaks to me. And I also love the over the topness, and I love that like when he would go off and then the set would turn into this giant like flashing LED lights and stuff. That I get it. I'm in that.
That's a theater show.
That's a theater show,
Right.
and he did not give me that, and that's what I thought was weird, is he was just up there standing there.
Well,
but what's cool
yeah.
is what you're talking about. It's just the people in the room. It's just this thing happening. It's stand-up comedy is so unique in you're standing on a stage, and the stage isn't pretty. There's no
most of the
real
time
cool
it's bare
set
as
design or
fuck.
anything. There's a light on you in a dark void, and you can't look at anything else. All the attention is on just the person up there. And that's weird, because most of the time in any other thing, whether it's you're singing or you're acting, whatever, there's other shit to look at. There's things to distract you. Up there, it's just Nick standing there making jokes.
Yep.
If I tell you that you're somewhere and there's a brick wall behind you and there's a spotlight on you, you're gonna think that you're breaking out of prison and the light just hit you,
Yeah.
like the McCartney Band on the Run cover. But but that's what it feels. You're in the firing squad there. That's what's fun about it. I mean, it's a certain kind of mentality, and it actually means I'm worse than a lot of people out there who are actually well-adjusted adults. But it's just something that you learn to crave, and you literally cannot get enough of it. And when you're not doing it, you're thinking about the next time you get to do it.
So catching back up, you come out to LA, and you immediately, I imagine, you just went to whatever the local open mic was, knocked it out of the fucking park, and everyone's like, "Here's money. We're just gonna throw money at you."
That's pretty. And then
Is that how it worked?
The rest has been fancy leather jackets ever since.
Here you are.
You have a collection of them. I've seen them.
I mean, I was aware of the lore of the Comedy Store and the Improv and the Laugh Factory and all that stuff.
How did you become aware of that though? Because those didn't really come into my consciousness until very recently.
The Comedy Store, there was actually an True Hollywood Story Remember those?
Yeah, love those. I used to love those. There was always a moment with an ambulance. I just want you to know that. You know, there was always a moment where like,
and then right they cut the commercial as a tease. Right.
It was like, and then it all went south.
And the end of every behind the music was, and now they're back in the studio and making the magic happen once again.
You know, you're like, I'm not going to give a fuck about that.
Nobody's buying this
I do not care about Guns N' Roses without Slash.
But it's like I think they did an East Hollywood story on the Sunset Strip. And which the Comedy Store in that building, that property was a huge part of that because it used to be Ciro's, which was a nightclub in the 50s. It's like the first time Martin and Lewis went on stage together, and that's where everybody went to be seen back then. It's where the mob did a lot of business dealings. Rumor has it the mob did a lot of hits there in the basement. And then
Icebox. Ice House.
That's right. So yeah, why is it? Yeah,
it's a fucking intimidating name for a club.
And then it's a great club though.
Yeah.
The Ice House. It's
We've been
fantastic. And then it got turned into the Comedy Store. But I think that history was so interesting, they made an Eat Your Hollywood story just on the Comedy Store.
Oh, interesting.
And I remember seeing that. And then I stayed at the Best Western on the Sunset Strip, like kind of getting out there, helping my buddy move out there. And remember, like him and his girlfriend were fighting. I'm like, fuck this, I'm going to leave. I'm going to go walk around Sunset. I walk out to Sunset. I look that way, and I look that way. Boom, there's the Comedy Store sign. And I'm like, holy shit, that's it.
Yeah.
It was like I was looking at Lambeau Field. Like I'm a giant Packers fan. I've never been to Green Bay before. That's it. Holy shit. So I walked over there and talked to a crazy open micer, and they were telling me about how the potluck works, which is their open mic and Sundays. Back then it was Sundays, Mondays, and Tuesdays. And you just learn the different open mic rounds, and you start getting into it, and you start doing a lot of shows just wherever you get coffee houses, bars, restaurants, occasionally a comedy club open mic, hoping to get made a paid regular. I got hired at the Comedy Store maybe a year and a half after I was out there. They finally hired, because they'll hire comics to like work the door and like, you know, park the cars and sell tickets and stuff like that. But I wasn't made a regular at the Comedy Store until I was already a regular at the Laugh Factory and the Improv,
really,
and Hermosa Beach and all these other places. So I was already a regular everywhere else. The Comedy Store was the toughest nut to crack as far as being a paid regular and getting your name on the wall.
Do you, if you're coming up in comedy right now, do you still have to pay those dues at the Comedy Store? What is there any way into that place other than working the door for like 5 years?
I mean, yes, but I would never tell anybody to get too locked into one club.
Okay,
because it's stupid.
Yeah, obviously there's more.
Yeah, I mean, I consider myself a Comedy Store guy because that's my home, but like I work every club all the time.
Sure,
and you need to. You cannot get too locked into place because every club has a different vibe. And you're going to have to learn how to handle different vibes in comedy. And the store is one of these places that it's worth the time investment to do the open mic and hang out and get that face time. So that's where you learn about comedy. That's where you get to be friends with these people.
Yeah.
You know, because the Laugh Factory is a great performance venue. It's not a great hang. The Improv's a good hang, but nothing's like the store, in my opinion, anyway. It's
how long are we talking? You walk in the door, you're like, okay, you're hired. Okay, you're going to start doing these open mics. How long before your name's up on the wall outside?
You get hired maybe 2 years after you start doing the open mic.
Okay.
To work there. And
do they do that based on the fact that like, okay, you might have a little something, we'll throw you a bone, throw you some work?
We've seen you do the open mic, you didn't shit your pants.
Right.
You're not one of the crazy people. Because in every class there's 20 crazy people and 5 people that have potential. And those separate themselves pretty quick. Because if you're any person on the street, you can walk up to the front porch of the Comedy Store and be like, oh, that's a crazy clique. Oh, they're actually talking about their jokes. I see where I'm going here.
Right. You don't want to be with the serious kids.
You start working there, and I mean, what I hear now is like, I think it takes those guys, unless, look, there's always a chance that you're just that comet that just, and you can get past like that. But
I'm not that guy.
Not happening.
Yeah.
So how does,
to a lot of people, it's usually 4 or 5 years.
How does the internet change that? Like, how is Twitter and Instagram and YouTube and, you know, with what you do, with what we do, like,
because it can get you credits in ways that you couldn't before. Like, if people get writing jobs on major shows. A lot of comics write. A lot of comics, that's what they want to do. They want to be staffed on like the Tonight Show or Colbert or whatever it is. And you can get hired now by writing jokes on Twitter. If you're funny on Twitter, you can get a writing job, which is great. You know, YouTube, you can build a big fan base off of YouTube, and you can go on. You can say, "Hey, I'm going to be here at this time," and people will come out and see you. And you didn't need to be on TV. You didn't need to do the Johnny Carson show to do that. You did that yourself. So it's a lot more of a startup go-getter mentality than it used to be. It used to be in the '80s. If you're waiting for your big break. You're waiting for the night when you hear the Johnny Carson Scout is going to be at the Comedy Store, and then you go to the Comedy Store and you're on the lineup and you got to crush that night. And now you can make your own fame a little bit, and you can cultivate your fan base to where your fan base is going to be happy to see you. So I have a lot of Schmoes fans that come out and see me, or a lot of Collider fans. They're going to expect me to probably talk about movies, and it's my job as a comic to either give them what they want or say, hey, yeah, I like watching movies. I'm talking about relationship shit tonight. Yeah. I'm talking about the news. I'm going to get political tonight, and it's my job as a comic to have good enough material to where they're happy that they saw the show. Because that might not be the show they came to see.
Yeah.
But like Aziz didn't give you the show you were there to see, but if he was great, you would have been happy with it. So that's the challenge. And I'm not saying that I pass this test all the time.
No,
because I don't. But that's the fun of it. Is that it's fun to have a test.
Yeah, every night.
I cannot get enough of it.
Well, a perfect example of that is obviously everything's subjective, right? Comedy is definitely subjective. There's no one person who's like, I am the authority on what is and is not funny. Recently, I just watched Tom Segura's newest special on Netflix, and I fucking loved it. I thought it was hilarious. But prior to that, I had started the other special he's got on there, and I just wasn't that into it. I got maybe the 30 minutes in, and I'm like, it's just funny, but it's not speaking to me the way I want it to at this moment in my life. Granted, I could go back and watch that a year from now and be like, oh, that's fucking hilarious. But that's just how it goes, right? And that's one of the challenges, is it's a moving target all the time. You don't know what mindset that one person's in that's going to stare at you like, I fucking don't want to be here right now. You don't know what happened to everyone's day. You don't know their level of energy. I just did Cobb's for my second time, and it was a vastly different environment than the first time. Same club, same fucking city, same me. But I was a little more tired. Half the audience was there. Everyone else was a little subdued. The host was different this night. Everything was just reorganized in such a way that it was just middle of the fucking road. It wasn't a bomb fest. I don't want to make that sound bad. People had a good time. We still put on a good
that's
show.
The thing is, though, it's that people's sets were great, but I'd say it was a bomb fest. It's like it's not that they weren't funny. No one was laughing. It's because the audience was not in it, and like there's a whole bunch of factors of why that might be the case.
It's almost like everyone got together beforehand and was like, let's just not laugh tonight.
Let's just not.
Do you guys want to just? Do you guys feel like laughing? I don't feel like laughing either. Let's just.
It was rough.
Sit.
You know, it was rough. As sitting in the audience, like I feel that need to participate and like laugh at everything instead of just what's actually funny. I
think for the comics, by the way, I don't necessarily know this, but I think a few of us were a little flustered because it was supposed to be a punchline. So we had a perfect crowd for punchline, and you've done both, so you know the difference. Like you need a bigger crowd, you need that energy in a bigger spot. But someone named Dave Chappelle wanted to come to punchline that night, so they kicked us over to Cobb's.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever heard him or not. I guess it's a big deal. I don't know. But when you get bumped for Dave Chappelle, you're like, oh.
You're also like, oh, it's pretty cool.
It's pretty fucking
But what I thought is funny based on my two Cobb's experiences for sure is comedy's subjective, absolutely. But there's something weird about when we left, everyone was talking, and everyone said the same people did good, the same people did bad.
Yeah.
And it's like, whether or not it's your taste or whatever, it's like there is a...
Well, there's a group mentality aspect of it, a mob mentality, rather.
Because you're in that room and you're laughing together, and when you hear other people laugh, you're more willing to laugh.
Yeah.
You're
having a shared experience.
It's a shared experience, and it's interesting to me to see how the level of confidence of someone standing on the stage can totally change their set, no matter how funny it is. You being up there, more often than not, I'm like, even when you fuck up things and like you're stupid and some of your jokes suck, I'm like,
honesty,
you're funny. You are a funny person, and you standing up there, you fucking own it, and it makes it worth it. There could be someone else that's standing up there way less confident that's saying something so funny, but it's like,
And you could not have that confidence every night. I mean, there's so many factors that change. Are you ready for a sports metaphor?
Yes, please.
You're getting one anyway.
Thank you.
It's like golf. Because you could show up to the same
golf. You
could show up to the same golf. Augusta National.
At least give us ice dancing.
Yeah, come on,
it's like ice dancing. You can show up to the arena.
Yeah.
No, if you're playing golf, you see Augusta National, right? Maybe one of the most famous golf courses in the world. It's the same course. It's the same stretch of property. It never, ever, ever plays the same. No golf course ever plays the same. Because you take out a driver on one day and you hit it 300 yards down the fairway, and it's great. The next day, just a little hinge in your swing, and you hit it in the woods. And now all of a sudden, it's a totally different round that you're playing. It's a totally different setup because now you're not hitting from the fairway. Now you're hitting from the woods. Now you're hitting from the sand. Now you're here. Now the pin's in a different place.
Right,
so
right.
it's
crazy,
the same venue. It's a totally different experience.
Seeing how that has affected your set over time, like being able to see your set kind of grow and evolve and change is interesting because you're doing that. And right now, what are you at? 8 minutes?
I probably have a good 10 minutes now.
10 minutes. I mean, that's crazy.
Nice.
Like
But it's been a year of hammering out all these stupid mom jokes to 10 minutes.
Because you started
no mom jokes.
4 minutes.
Well, that's
right?
that's the hard thing too. Is you write all this material and you have to figure out like, is this something that did it not work because it's not funny? More often than not, yes, that's the answer. Did it not work because the audience just is not there tonight, or is there some murky middle area where like,
or
can I retool this
and
joke?
you just didn't
do it the right way?
Yeah, you just didn't sell it.
Yeah.
You didn't even realize that you weren't selling it as hard as you thought you were selling it.
And so that's been one of the biggest things. That's also something I want to talk to you about as you are able to walk out there and do an hour. Like I've probably written 30 minutes worth of material, but I've thrown out 25 of those because it just doesn't land. It doesn't work. I can't figure out how to make it work. So how do you balance that out of going like, at what point do you go, we got to just cut this joke loose? Or if I tweak it a little bit and trim it down and get it sleek, like, is it going to go out there and fucking perform for me?
That's hard though, because based on what he was talking about with the golf metaphor, like, even if it's you doing Cobbs every night and it's the same thing, like I've seen you change your set based on reactions that you've had in certain scenarios. And it's like, maybe you shouldn't have changed it because there was a variable there that affected things in a different way. And it's like, then I've seen you like add things back and it's so crazy. So you're at an hour. Like where are you at when it comes to this comedy? Do you have multiple hours you can do?
Yeah, I mean, I could probably stretch it to multiple hours. I mean, I'm honing 1 hour in particular for something, but and now I'm in the process of like where you have too much, you don't want to give away, 140 minutes in one special. You know, you don't want to overload the audience, and you want to save it for more things, and because you think things will work better in that set versus that set, but you do have to test everything. You have to test it in a number of different venues. Then you learn eventually, you're like, okay, this joke I'm about to go to works 70% of the time. Like you just know in your head.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, this one usually works, but this is more of a late night crowd and they might not laugh at this, or this joke might be a little too dirty for this audience, but I'm gonna do it anyway, just because you become a little sadistic when you're on stage. Like you want to challenge yourself.
Sure.
I've had sets where I have to go up at a college and there's 30 kids there in a cafeteria and I have a game plan because I'm like, I don't want to have to think to like I want to go up and I want to get through this, and then my first joke out of my head is what I was gonna close with, and I knew I was doing it to myself.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you dick, what are you doing to yourself? And I'm thinking all this as I'm selling the
as you're
joke,
saying stuff.
and it's like, you asshole,
Like
you have
you just
58 more
skipped
minutes to
ahead.
do because
Yeah.
now you just, and it wasn't even like a panic thing. It was just like right at the last second, I'm like, fuck it, let's see.
Fuck it.
I want to see what this looks like.
This
Let's
isn't a
reverse
hard
the
enough
whole
scenario
thing.
for me.
Because I can't be sitting in my hotel room 2 hours ago and be like, you know what? I'm going to challenge you, kid. I'm going to put you to the ultimate test. But there is that like fucking Yoda, that little Jiminy Cricket that's on your shoulder that's like right before you go up, it's like, hey, do this.
Go fuck with
And you're
yourself.
like, fuck you, comedy conscience. Now I got to do it. And but you always learn something from it. As long as you're learning something from your successes and more importantly your failures, then you're going in the right direction. You know, it may never take you to being the star of a sitcom or an HBO special, but as long as you're learning something,
Or a cameo on The Good Doctor.
that'd be nice. I'd take that.
Yeah, that.
Oh, I was
I'd
going to
take
say,
that.
I don't know if
Yeah.
I don't know if I can get a cameo. I don't know what the good doctor is. How do you?
You could be a doctor on The Good Doctor. You
got
could be the evil doctor.
I'm gonna have to take his appendix out right now. How do you? This is a technical question for you. How do you organize the hour in your brain so that you don't get lost midway through? Because this is an issue I'm having right now. Is the longer I go, I know this is going to sound crazy to you, the more lost I get in my set. How do you rectify that?
I've always had a gift for memerizing.
Just memorizing.
Yeah, it'd be
It's just
funny if you
committing it to
left
memory.
too, and I just had to like,
Just talk
you
to
know,
the
I was had a
audience.
gift for memorization, and I'm just gonna have to vamp here by myself. I could, just like recall things pretty quickly.
Okay. So you're
but
just more talented than me. That's what
I'm
you're
just
saying.
better at it
Yeah.
than you. I
understand.
I think the main thing Nick is that I'm funny.
Yeah.
No, it really is.
Oh,
just
see, that's my
that-
problem. See, you're not being
it's-
funny, Nick. That's what your problem is.
I think you find if you keep doing it, and there is a science to pushing yourself above and beyond your limits, where if you think you have 10 minutes right now, you got to do a 20-minute set.
Interesting.
You have to do a 20-minute set.
Interesting.
Because you got to see what it feels like.
Yeah,
You
it's
know?
gonna feel bad.
Yeah, but you also learn like, hey, if I have 10 good minutes, right, and I'm trying to stretch it to 20, I'm gonna open with 3 solid minutes. and then I'm going to try this new thing. And then whatever that new thing does, I'm going to try to connect it back to another solid chunk I have. Then I'll go off and try to do something else. And then I'll come back to this bit. So it's almost like you have your comeback pitches that you know this is going to work and you know this is going to work. So maybe don't put them together.
Right.
Because you're doing a much bigger chunk of time. Spread it out. And be like, what happens if this is there? Because there's a lot of little markers that I have when I'm putting together like a tight hour where I know if I leave off with this, then that's going to get me to there. Like if I say this keyword, if I say Ford Fusion, I know that means, okay, that's going to go into my technology bit.
Sure.
And my technology bit ends with Best Buy. And I know that Best Buy is going to get me into my college graduate thing because those are just key words.
Those are just so you would design it a little bit so that it's almost a flow to a story or something.
Right,
like that.
right. That's how I do it. Like if I'm pre-gaming it, because I do look at it like it's a coach scripting the first 15 plays in football. You know, it's like I'm going to go here, and then when I'm in the midst of that, I'm like, I know I can go over here and just try something off the wall. Because I know I can come back to this. So you just learn to feel more comfortable and you learn to think more on stage.
So what are the big like milestones that you can identify for like your career as a comic, right? Obviously becoming a regular is probably one of them. Well, first and foremost, getting up and doing it for the first time, I'm sure was not fun.
Yeah. I mean, getting made a regular, getting to do your first hour, getting to do your first TV set. What I'm working towards right now is the first special. Doing anything that's in front of cameras, whether it's Conan or the Tonight Show or
is that still a huge milestone for a lot of comimics?
Yeah, it is.
So those late night shows still drive a lot of people forward.
Yeah, but I mean, where we are today, it's not as important. Where you're either on the Tonight Show or you're not. It's a nice thing to have, but it really doesn't do what it used to do for your career.
Because it used to make your career if you did well.
I mean, Ray Romano walks out, does a set on Letterman, and has a sitcom the next day.
Yeah.
That's literally how it happened. Same thing with Roseanne. She walked out, she said, I'm not a housewife, I'm a domestic goddess, which is a great opening joke. Johnny Carson sees it, she's got a TV show. And it doesn't work like that anymore, but it's a great credit to have. And what I'm working on is the hour, is the hour special. Because I can do hours and go to colleges and do them at clubs and theaters and all that stuff, but to have it actually out there for the fans is the next big goal for me. And I really think that's the mountaintop for me. Is just getting that hour and just being like, here's my body of work. Here's what I've been, putting all my blood, sweat, and tears into for the last decade. And here you go. And I can't wait for that to be out there, because then I go back to what you were asking me, which is like, okay, now I got 15 minutes. Now
because you got to destroy it, right? You got to it's out there. You got to burn it down, and you got to start over.
You can tape it, and then you can keep doing it until it comes out. But if you're just doing it the same way, you're gonna be screwed.
Yeah.
So you really gotta start working.
See, it's weird that you mentioned that though, because I've seen a couple comics. I'm not gonna name names, but I've seen a couple people who I was actually disappointed with because they did do some of the material from their prior special, and I was like, oh wait, I know that joke. Still funny, but. It's one of those where I'm the opposite of you. I want to see a special and I want to laugh at it, and then a year later I just want a whole new thing. And and that's what I think has been really cool about watching a lot of these specials come in such rapid succession, is that you get Dave Chappelle coming back with those first two specials he did, which feels weird and still funny, but for Dave, you're like, he's a different person. He's jacked. He doesn't look the same as
that
before.
was weird.
And I'm like, this is weird. And then you see the evolution of him coming back and being more aware of what's going on in society and then he starts doing the old Dave Chappelle thing where he goes from being funny to then being, like, in my brain, a thought leader, and then just being a guy that I'm like, this guy needs to be talking on a mic all the fucking time. Our society needs this. Like, it is a fucking, we got to put this out. And he does that last show at the Comedy Store, and it's, to me, what I feel like must be the zenith of what we're trying to achieve here, which is that you can talk to people and you can use comedy in a way that is different than me telling you how much porn I watch. You can really attack fucking deep subjects, but using comedy to kind of get people off guard and make them think about these things that they don't really want to think about. And that's what I love about going to Punchline and seeing people who really fucking do this, is that You get a bunch of people in a room, and there's this agreement that we all have where everything out there that scares us or pisses us off, we're gonna fucking take the piss out of that here.
It's all
this
fair
is the
game.
venue to fucking fuck with that and talk about that and rip that apart, and everything's fair game. And I think that's really, really cool. And when you watch a guy like Dave do that, it reminds you of the power of the medium, which is cool. It's also super intimidating.
But it's also like it's just one of those things where it's what I struggle with right now as a comic, because it's getting to that next point where it's you're not really concerned talking about your like, oh man, being single's hard.
Yeah.
Or like, man, college was weird. Like, I want to get past that. I have good jokes about it, and I want to get them out there, and then I want to move on because I want to see what that is like for the audience, where I'm not just talking about my dick all the time.
Yeah.
I'm actually talking about shit that really matters to me now, and I want to see how that works. It's a huge hurdle to get over as a comic, you know?
I don't mind. I mean, you got a great dick, first off. Second, what's up?
Well, thank
we
you.
Get more beers. Can I get a water as well, Greg? Thanks, sir.
I'll have the IPA. It
there
is
you go.
delicious.
Me as well.
That is actually a big thing for me right now.
It's what we were talking about on the morning show too with like Pauly
Yeah.
Shore, because it's like Pauly never got out of just being Pauly. Even if he was talking about politics and stuff, it's like, oh, he's a funny character,
Right.
You know, you're not paying to see Pauly Shore's take on Trump versus Hillary, you know. But
Yeah.
Dave Chappelle's take, I want to see that. I want to see what Rock's take is on it.
Yeah, and that's the thing for me that scares me, and that's why I know we have to do it. Is that when I go up there and I talk about how much porn I watch, it's not a shocker to a bunch of people. So I feel that that's my comfort zone, right? If I go up there and say I watch porn every night and here's why it's fucked up, but here's why I need it, whatever, people are gonna go, cool, I sympathize with you because I probably watch a lot of porn.
And
right?
it's still funny.
It's still fun, but that is different than me going up and like, let's talk about Me Too. Let's talk about these claims against all these people that we adore, who are now, are we allowed to like them anymore? Am I allowed to like Louis C.K. anymore? Is that like, can we fuck with that space? Can we talk about that?
It was one of the more interesting nights I've ever had at a comedy club.
Did you do comedy that night?
Yeah.
Oh fuck.
Went to the store and all three rooms were sold out, because whenever there's an event, like, I mean, Louis was special to comedy, but it's like anytime there's an event or a movement or something happening, people come out to comedy clubs. They want to see
those hot takes.
the jesters spin on it. And every room I walked in all night long, whatever comic was on stage was saying their 2 cents about it. And the audience was responding to it. And then I got on stage and I gave and I didn't even plan it, but I gave my 2 cents about it. And it was really refreshing, and it was fun and honest to like be able to be like, hey, we can all do this.
Right.
You know?
Sorry, we're laughing because Kevin actually put a giant picture of himself right behind you in the most poignant moment of your story.
Was
Who
that
was
you?
that? Was that you?
Pull it back up for a second.
What the fuck was that? That was
That
terrifying.
was horrifying. It
I was
so big.
literally hanging on his words, and I saw your mouth behind his face.
I'm so sorry. I was down.
Oh no, it's Greg. I thought it was
that's
Kevin.
amazing.
It's Greg. Sorry about that.
Oh.
Trying to upload God.
Yeah.
But if I'm telling the story of Louis and you just flash that, it looks like it's actually like a picture of Louis in the hotel room.
Yeah,
like,
that was pretty.
This is actually
that
his
was
eyes.
pretty apropos. I never know how much Greg looked like Louis jacking off. But that's interesting that you said that though, because one of the things that I would have thought would have been just the best thing for comics on the planet, which turned out to be the absolute worst thing, the last thing that anyone wants to hear when you walk into a comedy club, is Donald Trump. He is. There is just a general, maybe it's not in LA, but in here, if you're like, so our president, people go, fuck,
If you
dude,
mention
I don't want to
Trump,
hear
if
about
you
this
mention-
anymore.
It's Trump and Uber. Was that the two that I was telling you about?
Oh, I fucking love fucking with Uber. First
No,
off,
but the thing
I will
is-
fuck with Uber forever.
The thing is, when you're saying something
Yeah.
about it,
Yeah.
cool. When Uber's the punchline, you're fucking up, man.
Sure.
And way too often I see these people go up and they're just, you ever ride an Uber? Yes, we have been for the last 7 years now. Like, there's nothing clever you're about to say. I hate it.
It's
Hate
tough.
I got an
And-
Uber joke.
But that's the key. Is
It's
like,
good though.
That's a good joke.
Trump or Uber or whatever it is, it becomes so, watered down where you've heard it so many times. But if you can find a unique angle in there, then do it. But know that you have that challenge where it's a much steeper hill than it used to be. When Trump was in the primaries and he was just making fun of other Republicans, it was just an easy target to make fun of,
Right.
and it was an easy laugh to get. The stakes weren't where they are now. And it's like you talk about gun laws. It can be a hard week or it can be an easy week to do it, depending on what the appetite for the audience is. Uber, it's the same. Like, you can make that funny, but we've heard your best Uber jokes, so you better have a damn good one in your back pocket.
Yeah.
So
That's the hard thing
challenge.
about Trump, is that like we literally have a president who, it just came out that he banged a porn star back like He banged a porn star.
And we're
Straight up.
all like, oh well, it was just one. Really?
Yeah, we're like,
you really think a guy like that? You think that's the one?
But they come. These stories come in such rapid succession that you're just like, nobody wants to care about that.
No.
Like, we care, but there's only so much you can care about when there's a school shooting. You're like, that's more important. So we're not going to fucking care about him banging a blonde porn star or whatever.
But like,
you don't understand. Like, in the 90s, if Bill Clinton had banged a porn star, or if George W. had banged a porn star, that would be fucking mega news. Like, that would stop the fucking world. But now it's just
Bush Sr. banging a porn star, I'd actually be proud of him.
I'd actually watch that sex tape.
Like, that David Copperfield line works, didn't it?
Damn,
Congratulations, buddy.
It wasn't Uber. It was Tinder that I was saying.
Oh,
it's
Tinder.
Trump and Tinder. Tinder jokes. It's like, because when you start your set off, you're just like, man, dating these days is so easy. I'm like, stop.
But that's the thing, to Mark's point, and yeah, that's the job of the comedian. It's like, I've been around enough now to know that there's a lot of the same premises that are getting thrown around. It's really where you're going to take that and how you're going to take it. And that's what I'm trying to do is I want to go into the territory that scares people. I want to be able to build that tension and then that release with the comedy. Like, there are jokes that I'm writing right now that terrify me because they're the kind of jokes that if I say wrong, or the thing you guys have to realize is you're telling a joke that has to do with racism, right? Not being racist, but has to do with racism. I could tell you guys that joke now, and I'd probably be comfortable because there's no one out there that I can see. But when you can see someone in the audience that directly pertains to that joke, it's scary because you're like, I don't want to offend this person. Like, I'm not here to offend. I'm here to entertain, and I'm here to make you think. But I've been on stage before where I've chickened out, where I'm like, I know this joke isn't racist. This joke is just making fun of racism in America right now. But is that going to be okay?
It's fun, man. It's fun. I love that. That's
Mike,
what I
go
love.
ahead.
Like if I'm in the South and there's a bit that I do sometimes about I'm a huge Leonard Skinner fan, but it's so weird because I've seen Skinner 7 times, and every time I see him and they play Sweet Home Alabama, their background drops and it's the rebel flag, and it's just like, yeah.
Like, I can't like you.
Yeah, it's like, man, they're gonna leave it up. All right. Well,
yeah, that's a
damn good
thing.
song though, isn't it? Is it almost over? It's like you're ruining the song. But to do a bit like that on stage and to see the look in people's eyes where they either really agree with you or they're really not happy you're talking about this, that's the game. That's the test that we signed up for.
Yeah, it's weird though. But I think but that's the thing. Like, if the last few years of my life have taught me anything, it's that when I'm scared of something, that's right where I should be. Right? If you are always operating in your absolute comfort zone, then you're not really doing anything. And you're just out there you're probably doing the same mundane stuff as everyone else out there.
Yeah, I mean, I do the hour of hard stuff every night, and then I go right back to the mundane. And then I'm just back in my lair, I'm on my easy chair, and I just got my sweats on, and I'm like, the safe space.
There it is. But I don't know. That's something that I grapple with too, because I'm like, how do you do that, right? Like, you go, even a guy like Dave Chappelle, who is at the top of comedy, goes away, comes back, he's now at the top again, right? He gets shit for some of the things he says in that first special, those first couple specials, right? And you can tell it affected him. He literally comes back, and you can tell that the jokes that he made about transgendered people and the feedback he got after that hit him. And I'm like, if a guy like that can be affected, like, how do you weather that storm of like, this is just a joke, but someone out there is going to get offended by it. Someone out there is not going to see it as a joke because maybe that's their life that has to do with whatever we're talking about, and it's more serious to them.
That's the problem with really anything these days, is that if you say something that could offend somebody, eventually it will hit that. They're going to see it. They're going to see everything. You can make a joke and you can think you're in a safe environment, and you make a joke and somehow it's going to get out. There's just too many ways to distribute content now where the person who, not that you didn't want them to hear it, but they heard it and they got pissed off, they're the ones that are going to hear it. So you have to be prepared for the backlash. Everybody's braced for it, but there's one thing that's really nice about the society we live in today is that it does hold people accountable for actual shit.
Yeah.
As opposed to just jokes. Because, like, remember we were all getting offended at comedians a couple years ago, and then real movements like Time's Up and Me Too comes out, and it's like, those guys did shit.
Yeah.
It was awful. We're just making jokes here. So let's just all remember who the bad guys are.
Yeah.
You know, we're just
Yeah.
we're trying out shit.
Our job is to make fun of the bad guys.
Yeah.
We're not the bad guys.
Yeah, some of us.
Some
Some
of
of
the
us
bad
are.
guys.
Unfortunately,
guys.
a couple
By
of,
definition.
couple of them, dipped a toe in the bad area and then jumped into the deep end of the pool.
Stop
then
jerking off
jerked
in front of
into a
people.
bush.
If you're jerking off in front of another human being, it's probably not good.
Don't
Unless they
do
explicitly
it.
tell you.
Unless
hey.
they said, yeah, do it. Just they want it.
I'd feel weird in that situation. If I was in a hotel room and somebody's like, "Hey, Mark, will you jerk off in front of me?" I'm like, "No, sorry."
You haven't lived, my
Yeah.
friend.
You do have to occasionally have someone ask you, and you have to oblige. If they, I'm on the opposite. I'm married. If my wife wants me to do anything,
in,
I'm
dude.
excited.
You're
I'm in the
like,
game.
okay, hey.
Coach took me off the bench. I'm in the fucking game.
Let's go.
What sport are we playing? I don't fucking know.
Doesn't matter,
It
man.
doesn't matter.
I'm jerking off,
I'm
though.
getting in there. She's like,
Scarpino,
no,
get
I
your
wanted
glove.
you to
You're
go
going into right field.
Why don't you go to Trader Joe's, not jerk
Not
off? I just
jerk
hear
off.
what I want to hear. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? No,
You
Trader
didn't tell
Joe's
me to
okay.
wrap this belt around my neck?
Oh my God,
okay,
David
I'm sorry.
Carradine it a little bit. Too soon? Is it too soon for that? See, it's
See,
fine.
that offended somebody.
Nah, it's fine. He was kind of a white dude, right? No, I don't know.
I think he was a
not?
white- was
Yeah,
he
he
a
was a
white
white
dude?
guy.
He was kind of a white dude.
Was David Carradine white? I think he was
I
a
don't
white
even know
guy.
who you're talking
I'm
about.
gonna go half
You
Native
make fun of white
American.
guys.
But like,
Was he?
it doesn't
Going all
matter.
the way
Like,
to the top.
there should never. Oh, he was kind of a white dude. That
just-
should never be your thing of like, no, it's okay to say.
He's
kind of a white dude.
Any of you kind of white dudes
Yeah.
out there that got offended by that, I apologize. There you go. I don't know. So you're working on the special.
Working on the
No.
special,
Are we
yeah.
allowed to say that? Are we saying that? Have you
Just say
told
that I'm
people
working on it, yeah.
Okay, we're not going to share more details
Coming
on
soon.
that. Okay, coming soon.
Yeah. To,
What do you have any deals that you want to talk about in place for that? What or are you going out there doing it on your own, or are we not talking about that?
I don't really have anything set in stone, to be honest with you. I wish I did have more, but it's coming. So I mean, the good news is you're going to get a chance to see me sooner rather than later.
Right.
Like everybody is. Not
Good.
just like, hey, I'm going to be in your town or your town, but so that's the good news with it. Just how we actually distribute that is being worked out at the moment.
All right.
So which is the frustrating part about being a comic.
Yeah.
When it's just a bunch of people talking about you in a room.
Yeah.
And you're just like, can I get on the stage? It's almost like you're in a room with the adults and they're talking about baseball, but you just want to go out and play baseball. It's like, can we just go play this now?
That's the
I'm
story.
good at the game. I promise you.
That's
So,
that's
it's-
everything though. You always have to take the stuff that you don't want to do in
Yeah.
order to get to the stuff that you do want to do.
Yeah.
It's
There's-
being an adult and it sucks.
it's horrible.
And one day we'll hopefully have a couple people around us that'll just do all that stuff.
Did you
for
send
us.
that email, by the way?
No, I sure didn't.
God damn it.
Wait,
Nick.
which one?
The prom thing.
Oh no, I have to.
Actually do stuff.
Well, for the venue, the payments for the venue. Yeah, I'll take care of it.
Cool. Yeah, adult stuff. Man.
Venue?
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah, we're throwing a prom on the June 30th, which you're more than welcome to come. You got to wear
prom?
that. You got to wear that Kevin Bacon tux that you got from Footloose.
I can wear the Kevin Bacon
And you also
tux.
have to give a promposal to someone that you admire and or want to escort you to prom.
Okay.
So you got to do a video for anyone. Doesn't matter who. You don't have to do the video. You can just
So
ask them. You
if
can call them.
if I fancy a young lady, I don't just ask her in private.
No, that's way too boring.
I do a video
Yeah.
where I publicly
2018.
ask them.
There has to be a hashtag, or else it didn't.
Should it be
happen.
somebody that I know or somebody that I don't know?
I think it should be
Ideally,
someone you'll be
someone you
super
know.
embarrassed if they say no, so that they feel obligated to go with you.
that's a smart play for any
Yeah.
guy out there.
Yeah.
Make them feel bad.
Yeah, make them feel guilty for
Yeah.
not going with you. Tim's
Well,
like, don't do
Aziz.
that. Don't do that. Oh wow.
What?
Nothing. Aziz, that situation was nuts. We haven't talked about that,
We'll
and
talk
we
about
and we
it
never will, and we never will.
We never will. I don't know.
No, I don't know, man.
It's
Well,
just not that hard to not be a douche. It's not that hard. You know? It really isn't. Like and maybe I'm just like a weird like every time I've gone in when I thought I had the opportunity to kiss a girl and she's like, no, I just want to be friends. I'm just like, I'm happy I made it this far. Thank
Yeah.
you very much.
I'm glad you're
For-
talking to
Thank you
me.
for the opportunity. I'll see myself out. You know? It's not like, are you sure?
Are you
Like,
sure?
Yeah.
it's interesting because everything, for the first time in human history, every interaction can be put under a microscope and really looked at, and it's getting a lot of very fascinating conversations started.
You
It
can,
really
yeah.
is.
I mean, do I think it's the fairest thing in the world that text messages get out there? No. Do I think it's the fairest thing in the world that a awful human scum racist like Donald Sterling lost his basketball team because of a conversation that was taped in private? No, but he still shouldn't be owning a basketball team. So
Yeah.
it's like it's a very weird thing, but it's a great lesson for everybody out there, regardless of how good or bad of a person you are. Like, be careful with your shit. You know?
But it's hard
Don't
though,
send
right?
dick pics because they're gonna get out
just
there.
don't do it unless you want them to get out there. Like Tim Gettys said, don't take a pic you're not 100% confident having everyone, including your mother, see. I made the mother part up on that, but it makes sense, right? That's the thing. You have to understand every interaction you have with someone these days is something that could be known to everyone, and that's the way it goes. And I don't think it's a bad thing necessarily to say that you have to, but that should make you want to behave. I mean, you should want to behave because you want to be a good person. You want to be good to people around you and have that radiated back at you. That's the world we want to live, and that's the community we're trying to build here. But at the same time, I'll be honest with you. Sometimes I don't speed because I don't want the ticket. Not because I'm worried about putting someone else's life on the line. Sometimes I just go, I just don't want to deal with all that right now. And those are two very, like, I also don't want to kill people, but those are two very good reasons to not misbehave, right? Is that there might be a gigantic fucking backlash. Also, you might be putting someone in a bad spot. So just don't do it for either of those reasons. Whatever the motivating factor needs to be for you, don't do it.
Wouldn't that be so cool if that was like a rant Mr. Rogers went on one day? Like he came home and he was in a different mood. He just like throws his shoes off. Kids, listen to what this bitch did to me.
Let's
today.
talk about sexual
and
assault
it's like,
today.
oh my God, Mr. Rogers.
Where is Aziz now? Do we feel like what's the current state of his career?
I don't know where Louis is right now either. I mean, you know, he said he's taking some time to listen.
Very different situations, by the way. And again, we at some point will have a conversation about that in a more real way, focusing on the
different
intimacy
situations
of
for
it.
sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
But
Aziz is fine. Aziz is still being promoted heavily on the front
He's
page
still got
of
Master of
Netflix.
None. He's still good to go.
Aziz is going to be fine. He will address it in some way, but he's somebody. Look, part of me is fascinated to see how Louis addresses this eventually.
He's gonna have to, right? This is not something that you just go away for 6 months, come back, say I did therapy,
but it's
and
just
everyone
like,
goes, cool, you're good.
It's in your blood to do stand up, and it's in your blood to be brutally honest in your stand up. So what's that going to look like? What's that going to look like for Aziz? You know, like is he going to talk? What's it going to look like for Kevin Hart, who you know got in trouble for cheating? And it's like he is going to spin that into something that's probably going to make a whole lot of people laugh. So
Hasn't he already done that?
he might.
Like he cheated while he was on tour, and now they announced his new tour that she's going on tour with him.
That's
Oh damn, she's got a shotgun behind him the whole time. Like
Just
you're not,
like-
don't touch my man.
Yeah.
That's fucked up.
just like
Well, it's
double down on it.
Did you watch Chris Rock's newest special? Have you watched?
I
Tambourine?
actually have not seen it. No.
He addresses all of his relationship
watch
problems.
it?
I did.
What'd you think?
Yeah.
I liked it.
Really?
I actually thought the part where I don't want to spoil the bit, but the gun control stuff, I thought that was really funny.
Really?
Yeah,
I thought it was so lazy.
Really?
Beyond
dude, I
lazy.
thought it was fucking hilarious.
wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, the special was not good.
He goes
my
in and he
opinion.
talks about
Directed by Bo Burnham?
Yeah, that was interesting. He talked about his divorce and he talked about cheating on his wife, and he was very honest about it. And it's interesting because when you're a guy like Chris Rock, I mean, they're in order of magnitude. Like, obviously, he's not committing any crimes here, but it's still a pretty big deal that you cheated on your wife, right?
Yeah.
Unless she's into that sort of thing and wants to watch from the closet.
It's not cheating.
Then it's just hot. But, you know, you could tell it affected him and it ended his marriage. And he had a lot of things. I would say there's a good 20 to 30 minutes of that special that aren't comedy. It's just him, like, breaking it fucking down
I
to
gotta
people.
see that.
I wouldn't call it break it down. There is 30 minutes that aren't
Yeah.
comedy, but he's just talking.
Interesting.
Yeah. He didn't say anything. Nothing original was said in that.
The gun
Nothing.
control shit, I thought was funny. I thought he had some
Yeah.
really good bits in there.
Yeah, great. He made the same joke that everyone else made better on Twitter.
Also, that's
really what it was.
stunningly shot. That
Well, that
the
was 'cause
set was
Bo
fucking
Burnham.
gorgeous.
With the fucking
The
up and
lights
down lights.
lights, yeah.
That was so cool.
He had lights that looked like they were just a cluster of park cans that were just above him and below him that looked like fucking
Cylinders.
Yeah,
and just like-
stalagmites. It was fucking awesome.
In
And
a
the whole
cave?
No, it was in a theater, but it was like it was all smoked, so that you could see particles in the air, and it looked very
Well,
cinematic.
that was the
filmic.
cool thing is
gorgeous.
especially the close-up shots, like you just see fog behind him.
Right.
Cool.
And it created a different feel than what we were talking about earlier. That's just the brick wall and the spotlight.
Well, Mark, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for
Gentlemen,
shedding a little bit
this
of
was good.
light on what it might take to be a successful stand-up. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, if you're interested in doing this for yourself, follow Mark at Mark Ellis Live.
And go see Nick. Yeah, Mark Ellis Live is the Twitter. You can get. I'm going to be in Portland next week at the Helium. You can get tickets at markellislive.com. And we have a live movie trivia Schmodown in Southern California where he flies a lot
Oh yeah, he does.
on March 15th.
Without me.
And you can get tickets at either Christian and I or Schmoes No social media. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Big live event.
What day are you gonna be live in Portland?
The first, the second, and the third, I think.
Is that like past Wednesday?
Thursday through Saturday.
Oh, cool. So if they see this, they might be able to.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
Wait, is Mark Ellis Live your Twitter?
And my website and my Instagram.
Oh, okay. I thought you had like
Synergy.
a Mark Ellis Twitter, and then you also had a Mark Ellis Live Twitter just for your shows
Baller.
and shit.
That's all it is,
That's
yeah.
way too baller.
Follow this for the
That's
most boring
baller.
dates. Yeah. No, it's
gonna
all
follow
one
you right
thing.
now.
Yeah.
For everyone else out there, if you are watching this and you want to see what the post show might look like, well, go over to patreon.com/kindafunny, throw us a buck, and you can watch this show live. We're about to wrap this up, but that's not the end of it. The end of it actually is probably going to be 15, 20 minutes from now when we really talk about the dark shit. What's it going to be? What's the dark shit going to
Good
be?
Lord, Nick.
Of course, you can get this podcast each and every day. YouTube.com/kindafunny, 9 a.m. It's not each and every day. It's Fridays, 9 a.m. But you can watch me on the morning show, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time every day, or him on the morning show and Games Daily right after that. It's been our absolute pleasure to entertain you today. I love you all. Have, depending on what day you're watching this, a wonderful weekend. I always forget. I'm like,
I know,
our
what's
schedule
happening?
is so hard because we
Or can someone do the pointing really quick?
Sure. Hey, if you didn't know, you click here. No, what are we supposed to say? What do you
Just,
want to put
it's
about?
4 different things. You need 4 corners. Tell them where to click.
Okay.
Just make it up.
Okay. Hey,
Patreon. No wait.
Patreon 2 subscribes, 1 video.
There it is.
Patreon 2 subscribes.
Yeah.
So games and the
Yep.
channel. Great. Hey, what's up, everybody? You want to support us on Patreon? Click right by Tim's face. Right here, you can subscribe to this channel where this video is. Right here, you can subscribe to our games channel, so you can talk about Destiny. And over right around here is something else. Click on that.
Ice dancing.
I hope I was in the video because I was contributing.
Yeah,
you
oh,
were.
yeah.
I was helping aim.
It's just the 20-second end slate. Probably all this is in it too because I went way too fast on that. Hey, what's up, guys? Here's the post show now where we talk to the chat, and you can be one of those people if you give us a buck, or you can give us $10 and watch this ad free with the post show baked in and say, "Fuck you! I don't want to watch you guys live. I don't want to interact with you. I just want to use you for that sweet, sweet voice butter."
Voice butter.
Now we talk about the real shit.
Yeah, let's talk about
Real
some
talk about
shit.
who
Let's get
killed a guy.
nasty.
What happened to Aziz, says Nick Seho. Aziz Ansari went on a date, and the person did not have a very good time, and she accused him of some things and recanted the date there. And you should read it for yourself because I think there's a lot of interesting perspectives on both sides.
Good?
Panzer GS says the dark shit.
The dark shit.
The chosen few says the Brad Dam. I've never asked you guys what you think about me basically creating a caste system with our subscribers, but I love it.
What do you do?
I call the norms, the people who don't want to subscribe, the norms.
The norms?
And then anyone who has subscribed, like these beautiful
The
people
chosen
here.
few?
They're all the
chosen few.
golden children, the chosen few.
I like that.
I love it too.
It's an extra little thing.
It's fun.
It's $1 extra.
Yeah, $1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Daily
do that.
Arvel TV says, for some unknown reason, Thor: The Dark World was called Thor: The Dark Kingdom in Germany.
Really?
Nobody knows why.
Oh, dude, they do that all the time with movies. They change the name because it's just like some marketing
Harry Potter
schematic.
and the Philosopher's Stone.
Well, sometimes too, there's words that just don't translate over very well for people. Although I can't imagine world and kingdom need to be.
Metropolis.
That's a dope name.
Zootropolis, yeah. Yeah.
Really?
It's so weird how that, like, it's like, really, you couldn't find the word. Language is weird in general. I mean, that they have, like, the Chinese alphabet is like 500 characters. And we're at 26.
Yeah, we got 26, bro.
Nailed it, dude.
What do we,
Hawaiians have like 11, I want to say. 13.
I think it's 3.
they don't
Simple.
need any. I mean, they just like, hey, what's up? Yeah. And they're just, yeah, this is like 9 letters. This is fine.
Havoc Maker says this episode was worth $1. Thank you so much for that, Havoc Maker, and thanks for being here, everyone that's out there.
Ooh, Charles Jacobson, that's a good question.
What does he got?
Mark, what are some of your favorite stand-up specials of all time, which can obviously go to the room? I think the best stand-up special I've ever seen in my entire life is Chris Rock's first one, Bring the Pain. It's an amazing hour of comedy. You're watching a new comedy star get born before your eyes. But comedy doesn't age all that well usually. I mean, Chris's does, and a lot, there's some other guys that do. The best comedy album I have heard since the 2000s is still Dave Attell, Skanks for the Memories.
Really?
If you guys are out there and you have not seen Dave Attell, get Skanks for the Memories. It is so funny. It is unbelievable. It's a great listen. Check it out.
Some of my favorites. Shit, I'm the worst at this because I'll remember them on the White Home.
Yeah.
But I really love. I went back and watched recently Dave Chappelle's last HBO special, which was Killing Him Softly, and I think that still to this day.
Is that when we references Kinney shoes? Like you're banging a guy at Kenny's shoes?
No,
That's
I don't
funny.
know. I can't remember. What's up, Kev?
I was gonna mention,
Come
and
in
I
my
haven't
mic,
thought
not
about
Mark's
this.
mic.
Well, he like invited me in.
right.
I felt very
Okay.
welcomed.
Be careful, Kevin gets one.
John Leguizamo, Sexaholics.
Oh, Sexaholics.
Yeah.
That was a fun one.
So good.
I think it was the first stand-up special I've ever seen.
Yep.
Eddie Murphy's Raw was, I saw that when I was 17 for the first time, and it changed everything because I didn't realize Eddie Murphy wasn't just Dr. Dolittle.
It's really upsetting.
And it was like, whoa,
yeah.
Dude,
he
you
is-
go back and watch Raw and Delirious, and they're
fucked up and not
speaking
okay,
about
but so good.
comedy that sometimes doesn't age well. There is some shit said in that if a comic got up today and said, that, that would end your career.
Yeah.
So fucking funny.
You cannot talk about gay people. He talks about gay people.
Some of my
It just doesn't
favorites,
work.
I would say,
was
is
fucking
John
hard.
Mulaney's New in Town. Is I could listen to that a million times and still
He's
think
really
every joke is
funny.
funny.
Yeah.
And Bo Burnham's Make Happy, man. I fucking love that thing. And it's not necessarily the best comedy special, but just for an hour performance on stage, it is.
I thought
The hashtag goals for me.
Who's the guy? Fuck. Hassan Minaj. I thought had a really good
shit,
special.
You're
last
right.
year.
funny,
You're
yeah.
right.
But that's not that
yeah.
to me wasn't a comedy special. That was just a live performance with fucking awesome
Yeah.
interactive stuff. That's I looked at that. I was like, dude, this good for that guy,
Dude,
because he
Hassan
knows
Minaj,
he
what
knows
was it
his
called?
voice.
Fuck, it's on Netflix.
Something about prom, maybe I don't know. I can't. Remember.
Homecoming King.
Homecoming
That's
King.
what it was.
Homecoming King.
Yeah.
God damn.
Amy-
That shit is on another level.
Amy Gilroy says, Nick, thinking about doing a self-defense course in my local jiu-jitsu center. Good idea or no? I have no upper body strength. Well, first off, yes, I think it's a great idea, but you have to know something about, you have to be very careful with quote unquote self-defense courses because just because you've taken 3 classes does not mean that you can defend yourself. Jiu-jitsu is one of those things that the more you do, the better you're going to get at it. And for women specifically, I think it's great. But you need to put some time into that. Again, of course, any little bit helps, but just be very careful with if someone says, hey, in 3 classes, you're going to know how to defend yourself, because trust me, I've been doing it for a year and a half and I still got my ass kicked. And I do have upper body strength.
I've seen it. I felt it.
I've seen his upper body strength.
I've witnessed it
There it is.
in my face.
Chelsea Vernon says, Tim, I love you. I love you, Chelsea.
That's
Yeah, fuck,
that's a comment.
Go on.
Luis
You gotta
Herrera
read that
says,
one.
Nick, please give
My
me...
eyes, for some reason, went straight there.
Luis Herrera says, Nick, please give me advance notice before you do a deep dive into porn on GOG so I can pledge and be the guest for that episode. Well, Luis Herrera, if you pay the fee and you want to come on here, we can absolutely talk about
You
porn.
know, I didn't pay any fee to be here, unfortunately. I'm just here, but I would love to not have a debate. I am not a porn guy.
It's not a bad thing.
I do not watch porn at all.
That's not a bad thing.
And it was funny. I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and she was like, "But what do you do when you jerk off?" And I was like, "I don't know. I just close my eyes." And she's like, "So you just like close your eyes to just like stare into the abyss?" And I was like, "That's an interesting way to put it." But yeah.
Our friend Greg, who
Yeah.
is this show's namesake,
Fucking weirdo.
he jerks it to lit erotica.
He likes to
He
read his
will
porn.
read, and that is not a joke.
Have you ever read Little Erotica? Some of that shit gets
No, dude,
I'm
that
sure
shit,
it's
that
hot.
shit gets you on, man.
To be,
I get that.
Anybody trying to act like 50 Shades of Grey, the book, isn't hot, they're fucking lying. They haven't
Wow.
even tried reading that shit. That shit straight up reading it makes me hard.
I'm a Muppet baby. I use my imagination.
I mean, look, I don't
This is the first
always
time Muppet Babies and jerking off has ever been.
I wish that was true. I wish that was true.
probably not. To be fair, I don't jerk off all the time to porn, but when I do, I choose xvideos.com. No, I don't know. I don't all the time. You can't all the
I
time.
like
Sometimes
that.
you're like, I can't watch porn right now. I'm at my mom's house. I can't fucking do that shit. So you go in there, and that's why you have to go back into the bank and think about some of those occasional encounters you had when you were single, and that's what those are for. And maybe you remember them. You choose to remember them as all or a couple of them happening at the same time, and that's fine.
I just remember like watching a porn in high school and being like, yeah, that's what tits like. That's what I guessed. And then
Nailed it.
I'm good. Yeah.
That's so weird.
I'm good.
It's one of those things that if you don't watch porn, don't start. It's like cigarette smoking. Don't start smoking cigarettes unless you want to be addicted. Because
I disagree entirely. Watch porn. Watch all the porn. Figure life out via porn.
Cigarettes.
Yeah, and smoke cigarettes. Don't smoke cigarettes.
Havoc Maker 3 says
I guess
jerking
sound
with
bad.
no material is called jerking stale fish. No, it's not. It's just called masturbating. It's not called jerking stale fish.
I like that it.
Stalefish is a disease if you jack off too much into the same sock or something. You catch stalefish.
Oh, that sounds right.
That's terrible.
That sounds right.
One.
Yeah.
So one of the things you don't watch porn, but one of the things they've started doing now is doing 15-second pre-roll ads before porn. And one of the things that I want to do is make one of those pre-roll ads. I want to be the guy that's like, hey, I see you there with your dick,
see what you're
and I know
doing.
you're about to jerk off.
good dick.
Come over to kindafunny.com and check out some of our podcasts. We talk about nerd shit. All right, have fun.
Hey, one more time to jerk off? Well, you can save 15% or more in just 15
cards.
minutes.
Oh man.
Terrible. All right, ladies and gentlemen. I think that's pretty good for
was
our
good.
post show. Thanks, guys, for joining us. Mark, thank you again for being here, man. It's awesome.
Love you, boys. Happy to do it anytime.
We'll have you back soon, and look out for me on their Patreon. I will be on the Josh McCouga episode of the Schmodown.
No, Josh McCoog is on the Nick Scarpino episode.
Yeah.
It's Italian versus Italian.
You go get him.
There it is. That'll be happening very shortly over on their Patreon, so go over there and support. Bye.